everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Alex Navarro.
Get me more video games of Spider-Man.
Get me the video games of Spider-Man. There's a lot of J. Jonah Jameson in this new Spider-Man 2. Brad Shoemaker.
I'm not even going to try to do a J. Jonah Jameson impression here.
Okay, just do a J.K. Simmons impression then.
Is he back? Is he in this?
Hi, I'm J.K. Simmons.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's a little more gravelly than I thought, but it's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Is
Solid.
Is he doing it in this?
No, I don't think it is.
It sounded like
No,
No, but much the way
he's way
that
too big.
He's too big, and also but it's one of those things where it's like he is now the default for all portrayals of J. Jonah Jameson because he's too good at it.
It's too good, yes.
Yeah.
It's not the likeness for sure, but the voice is obviously going for it.
Oh yeah.
And in that, like, are you trying to get a sound alike? Because this really is. I mean, just J.K. Simmons.
This was always the tone of J. Jonah Jameson. He was always an angry blowhard. It's just that J.K. Simmons honed it to such a precise and unbelievable degree that by default now, all portrayals of J. Jonah Jameson will be compared to him.
He is the elemental, he is the pure crystallized form.
Yes.
The JJJ.
In case we haven't given it away, we are going to be talking about Spider-Man 2 today.
Excuse me, Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Marvel's.
How else would you know?
Hereby, hence known as Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
Should I watch those new movies?
Which ones are the new movies?
You mean the current MCU ones?
I guess it's the Tom Holland. I mean, I don't even know what to say about the Andrew Garfield ones. That seems like everybody just kind of forgot about those. Well, except that I know he was in that most recent one.
Yeah, they brought in the multiverse Spider-Man for that.
I thought that was a fun movie.
I mean, I guess any and all actually, like either Garfield or Holland, but I guess specifically the Holland ones. I'm just kind of got Spider-Man on the brain.
I think they're
really.
I think they're very fun.
Yet.
Yeah,
really
I think they're fun movies, and it's that modern Marvel. It's that modern Marvel snark isn't it a lot? So like kind of if you hate that, then I think you are not going to enjoy.
But it's favorite.
They also put this Spider-Man, at least in the early ones, like pretty close proximity to Tony Stark. So there's a lot of like bouncing back and forth of that style of dialogue.
Well, he's much younger than some of the other ones. Like he's a high school kid in this, and
he always starts as a high school kid. Man, he starts out as a high school kid in the Amazing ones. He starts as a high school kid in the Tobey Maguire ones.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like Tobey Maguire, high school kid. Okay, that felt a little, let's say, in my mind, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man high school kid felt a little more aw shucks 60s and 70s Spider-Man.
There's something very like corny and earnest about those Raimi movies, right? That I kind of remember liking a lot.
Oh, I mean, they're just going back to the straight up origin of that one. Like all the stuff with like, was it Bonesaw McGraw and Randy Savage and stuff? Like that was his origin in the comics. So like that one is really by the numbers, just trying to do its version of the original origin story of Spider-Man.
And then the latest one, the Holland ones, I feel like he's much more of a believable teen.
Yes.
Like a more modern teen.
With far less believable technology.
Yeah, who's still kind of aw shucks, but not in the kind of like naive... He's just like is a kid who makes mistakes, right? Like you're just like, oh, Mr. Stark, I didn't really realize that hitting all the buttons would do this. Geez, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
kind of way. I enjoy them. I think they're fun, though. I wonder if he's going to be aging out pretty soon because he's aging faster than they're making them, which is almost hard to believe because they make a lot of them.
Well, they've only made 3 of those Spider-Man movies. Only 3.
There's like Homecoming.
But he was in the Avengers stuff too, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
because that was the thing is that this Spider-Man was introduced kind of in the middle of the MCU versus like the Raimi and the Amazing Spider stuff, where it just kind of existed standalone.
I kind of get the sense that, and just turn this into movie chat. I sort of get the sense that Tom Holland is moving into his Daniel Radcliffe phase, where
like
he wants to like
do weird stuff,
take some interesting weird roles, and like actually do memorable work, and not just be a marquee, tentpole guy forever.
I like Tom Holland. I'm not sure that he has the same batshit quality that Daniel Radcliffe sort of has really fully embraced.
Radcliffe has really fucking gone for it, man. It's crazy.
That dude really just does not want to be remembered as Harry Potter,
hey,
primarily.
God bless him for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He's what is he English? Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, I believe, is English.
He does a great job. Like, he doesn't sneak through like sometimes it does for very good actors doing American accents. Like, it's very believable. I think you should give those a chance, Brad. If you're if you are interested in this kind of level of Spider-Man, I think those are they feel like the most current of them.
Well, they are the most current of them.
Well,
but I know what you mean. They're
it's hard to
updating
explain
the origin for the current cinematic climate versus just trying to retell the story from the 60s and 70s.
But what if you're not a huge fan of the current cinematic climate?
Then maybe stick with the Garfield ones or something. But like,
no, don't stick with the Garfield ones.
Maybe I'll watch the Raimi ones again. I don't know.
Yeah, like in the current climate, they feel like the superhero movies that slot in the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kind of makes sense. Again, with the snark factor, and there's continuity between the characters in the Marvel universe.
Oh, so that's another thing. I am not going to go watch 8 other Marvel movies to set them up.
8 if you're lucky, dude.
Yeah, 8 if you're lucky, and like 17 TV series. But like, I don't think you have to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I think Homecoming's very fun. I think Far From Home is all right, and I think No Way Home is a little better than I think Far From Home. Far From Home, I think, is the Mysterio one.
That's the Mysterio one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, which is all right, but I think Homecoming's fun because it's the first one. And
just to move into actual video games here, I think I'm just going to say it right now. I think this recent PlayStation, I guess, trilogy now it is, you would call it, like this is my favorite Spider-Man, actually.
Sure.
Is these games.
I kind of agree, and I as much as I really like the first of the Spider-Verse animated movies, I think I like this Miles portrayal slightly better than those movies.
Yeah, I guess to be clear, I guess I would say I haven't seen the second Spider-Verse. I've only seen the first one, but I kind of, because it's so like the concept is so out there with all the different realities and stuff, mm-hmm. and you know, it is animated. I kind of think of it as its own thing with its own identity. It's not going for realism is the dumbest word to use about superhero stuff, you know what I mean? But like it's much more stylish and stylized and a lot more interesting off the wall type stuff going on, where like these games and the movies are a little bit more rooted in reality, I guess I would say.
Well, it's version of reality, yeah. Whereas, yeah, you're right. It's a much more fantastical presentation in those Spider-Verse movies. And to be clear, I do like the second one a fair amount. It's just that I think the first one was such a incredibly novel and out of nowhere thing that totally. Like the second one just kind of suffers by comparison. And again, I like Miles in those movies too. Though I think where they take him in the second one feels like it takes a little bit of the personal urgency out of it and makes it more of this gigantic universe-spanning thing that he is just a small cog in. And I think that's kind of what I like about the game portrayal of him, is that it's not a big story about how this Spider-Man doesn't fit into the grand scheme of the Marvel universe. It's actually a story about, not only does he fit here and is he a completely normal Spider-Man, he just exists in tandem with the Spider-Man that started out this whole thing.
I think I'm somewhere between. Like, I think, again, I don't know the comic Miles very much, so just going off of, I think I like Miles Morales a lot as a Spider-Man. Like, should we just talk about the game? Should we transition?
We're getting into
talk?
This with Spider-Man 2, but we've all obviously played the first one, and we all played Miles Morales.
So I think early on in Spider-Man 2, the game, I just wanted to keep switching over to Miles because I like Miles as a character.
Yeah, I spent most of, well, God, there's a lot to talk about with this game. I mean, there is the fact that you can just change at will, mm-hmm. except that you have to play a specific one for each story mission. Yeah. But other than that, you can kind of just play whoever.
And there are certain types of side missions that require one Spider-Man or the other, yeah.
Yeah, just about all the side activities, I think, are locked to one character or the other. But like just swinging around, you can kind of switch whenever. And I spent most of the early game as Miles.
He's just... He's a fun character.
Yeah.
And you know, Peter has his place. All right, let me say this. We're going to talk about Spider-Man 2, the game. We have
none of us have finished it, to be clear.
We haven't finished it. We've had it for a bit here. We played a bunch of it. We're not going to get into story spoilers. We're kind of just
mostly, if anything, just early game setup stuff.
I would say we probably won't talk about anything that isn't already obvious from the marketing for the game.
Yeah. And,
or even the box art for that matter.
And, we'll probably talk a lot about mechanics and stuff like that. So just spoiler warning there.
Yeah.
We're not going to go out of our way to spoil anything. Also, again, we haven't finished the game. So I think everybody that we would talk about is known or character development wise is kind of a known quantity at this point, but fair warning. We're going to talk about Spider-Man 2. The game in which you have Peter Parker and Miles Morales as the two Spider-Men.
They've decided no brand differentiation whatsoever. They just say, "Hey, Spider-Man, what's up, Spider-Man?"
Yeah, it's dude. There's a lot of amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man interaction stuff.
There is an amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, what were they? Yes, they both refer to each other as Spider-Man, like rapid fire in the same conversation. But there is an exchange with another character later on in the game where they dig into that, like what do you guys call yourselves? Spider-Men, Spider-Mans? This is a branding problem.
Come get your Spider-Mans.
And there's some clever stuff like it's structurally it is that game. Like, to be clear, like if you played the first two at a basic level, you know exactly what the template is here. So like they've got the random crimes that spawn all over the place that you can go do. And they do a cool thing where occasionally the other Spider-Man you're not playing will swing in and just help you fight.
Yep.
In the middle of those things, and then have like a pithy little quip and then swing away.
Okay,
again.
We should also mention we played this early before release. There have been day one patches. I think I just played today with a patch. So some stuff might not be in the final version, but to that point, Brad, I was doing a side mission, one of those side missions where you have to like take down a bunch of enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like go to this place, take down a bunch of enemies. And I was like, oh man, this is one you could do it as either. And I was like, oh man, thematically, I think I'd rather do this as Miles. So I'm going to go swing away. I'm going to go switch to Miles and I'm going to come back because Miles has done all of these before. So I get there, I go in the thing and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go switch. And you have to get a little bit away before you can switch. I switch. I come back. Everybody's webbed to the walls and dead, or quote unquote dead because Spider-Man, knocked out. And I'm like, wait, what? Did the other Spider-Man come in here and finish his side mission? And then I was able to do the like push triangle on the thing to end the mission because usually after you kill everybody, you got to do that. And it didn't give me credit. And I had to reload a checkpoint. Yeah,
okay.
No.
But I was like, that's kind of amazing. If like the other Spider-Man, it's like, oh, I'm doing these side missions too. Don't worry.
Right up until you said it broke at the end, I was wondering if that was actually intentional on their part, which would be incredible.
It didn't pop the completed thing.
I've noticed a couple of glitches here and there. I will say this is mostly a pretty polished experience from what I've played, but I've had a couple of missions where like an enemy didn't spawn and I could not finish that fight, that kind of thing.
I've had, like one of the Prowler stashes, the prompt didn't work to open the safe at the very end and I had to abandon mission and restart. Or I had a cutscene where some sound effects were missing and it was just not...
It's a little buggy.
It's just a tiny bit, and to be clear, this happened after the day one patch, which came down last Friday, I think.
Yeah, this is all stuff that I experienced like last night after already getting all those patches and stuff.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like even that Prowler stash that broke, it's like 90 seconds once you know what to do it again. It's not the end of the world.
Checkpointing is fine.
Checkpointing's fine. Some of that stuff, though. Okay, we're going to be talking about this for a while, but some of that stuff can be fiddly. It's funny you mentioned the Prowler stash stuff because there's so many contextual button things in this game that are like, and different button combinations where you like have to be the right distance away from before the dot will change into the button prompt, or like shimmy a little bit to your left or to your right to make the button prompt appear. That I have almost thought that the thing was bugged until I kind of went away and walked back forward and backwards to get the button prompt. It can be a little fiddly, and sometimes the UI will just cover up the button prompt, and you're like, I think it's a triangle, or L1 plus square, or R1, R2 here. It's a lot. So, when you say this game is like the other ones, it is, but also I feel like they broke the dial off on this one.
Sure.
Like they didn't just turn it up a little bit, they just kept turning until the dial broke, and it is... And I'm going to say out of the gate here, for people who just want the cut of it, is I really like this game.
Yes, I also wanted to say that up front because I think sometimes I see people take the wrong tone from some of the discussions we have. I'm flabbergasted how much I like this game. Like I went from, I love the first two, but I went from thinking like I love those games, but this is clearly going to be that again. Like I'm going to play it, but am I going to be excited about it, or have I had my fill of that formula? Like in the space of like the first 12 hours that I put into it, I went from like feeling that way to thinking like, man, this is like game of the year contender. Like this is really good.
There is one thing in this game that sent chills down my spine. We've been doing this for a long time, 20 plus years, and it happens rarely. This game has like no loading. Like when I say like
very
no loading,
little at
like
all,
no loading. Like once you're in the game, you fast travel. You come out of the map, you are in the zone that you hit to fast travel.
Yeah, it's a really
kind of amazing
fast travel. Like it literally, you have to hold a button for like 3 seconds. Although there's been a whole argument on Twitter with like straight up Insomniac engineers now chiming in of people saying like, oh well, you have to hold the button for 3 seconds because that's when it's caching the assets. And then they said like, no, we had it working without any spin up time.
But, it could be a UI thing where like you don't want somebody to accidentally hit the thing.
That's what they said it was, but
who knows? But
point being, like it literally zooms into the map you are looking at, which is your map screen. Like where you hit the thing to fast travel, it just like zooms into that, and it becomes the real city, and you swing right in. It's very
it's bonkers, right?
It's very
kind of nuts.
It's so bonkers, and they do that. They do character switching is pretty much near instantaneous. Maybe you get a frame of, or it's like a little, half a second of black,
like a quick swoop in animation. And there you go.
They do, or they try to do. I'm torn. They try to do the Grand Theft Auto 5 thing of like cutting to like scene in progress type thing of the other character, but they don't go as hard as GTA 5 did with that.
It's not like you're not going to wake up and Miles is like drunk on a park bench somewhere.
Right.
Like, it's very much just like, nope, he's just perched on this building. Here you go.
Yeah.
The setups are not as elaborate. Occasionally it'll be like, oh, he's high-fiving somebody on the street when you come in on him or something like that. But it is a little weird to me though when you change characters, they spawn the new character in right where the old one was.
Yes.
It's kind of whatever, it doesn't matter. But
sometimes they try this game has interesting ways to try and tie their two characters together. They'll acknowledge when you switch sometimes. They'll be like, oh, thanks, Miles, for the heads up that this side mission was here that you can't do, It's sometimes...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing that I'm trying to keep aware of is I can't tell if they've recorded multiple takes of dialogue for when you're swinging or standing, because sometimes when Peter or Miles is standing doing a dialogue thing, they'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna go on my way to go visit Aunt May, and I'm gonna do this thing. And then when you're swinging, he's like, hey, I'm gonna go. They're like yelling.
They've been doing that, I think, since the first game.
Yeah, There was some of that definitely in Miles Morales, at least.
That's intense. Like there's like small touches like that are kind of neat. I find very neat. Yeah. But they're you can high five each other sometimes. Do your Spider-Man points.
Yeah, they've recorded a ton of dialogue for like getting cut off. Like.
Yes.
I was in the middle of a story conversation over the radio or whatever while I was swinging around, and I happened to swing right over one of those car chases, just the random crime event ones, and like the dialogue very seamlessly, like I couldn't tell there was even a seam there, like was just like, oh, hang on a minute, I got to deal with something, I got to get something car chase, and then picked it back up like pretty cleanly. It was very impressive.
Other games have done that as well, and it does it okay. Sometimes you get a repeat of the line again. Like we're like, where were we? And
it's not perfect stitching, but it's pretty good.
It's pretty good and like feels fairly contiguous, for the world.
The character switching has led to a kind of new manifestation of open world brain for me. Of like I went to go do a hunter base this morning, and like Miles is next up in the story progression, and the thing he's supposed to go do is like, it's not urgent, but it's actually just his mom calls and was like, hey, I need your help. Like, could you come swing by the office or whatever? Like, I need your... And I was like, well, Miles wouldn't like put his mom off to go do side missions. I have to switch to Peter now to do this side mission. I can't make Miles blow his mom off like this. It's like a dumb way to get sucked into the stupid open world mechanics.
That's totally what I was talking about before. I was like, oh, I should do this side mission as Miles, because in my headcanon, this is a Miles mission, not a Peter mission. Some are specific that you can't, but it's very quick to switch. Like this game has just so much going on in it. So the fast travel is really technically one of the most amazing things I think going on in this game, just in terms of seeing it happen. Like it's just wild because the map is big. It's a big map.
It's big. I mean, it's
not like open world Witcher big, but
no. I mean, it's one of those things you don't really appreciate until you're on the ground, and that was the case with the other ones too. Which is to say that it is a fairly big rendition of comic book New York. I mean, obviously, it is not a super realistic version of it. But when you're swinging around, it doesn't feel quite as big because you are just covering huge distances in fairly quick order, especially once you get that wingsuit going.
Yeah.
And but they have added like Queens and Brooklyn stuff that was not there before. I mean, it's
not
again,
all
it's
Queens,
It's a very condensed vision of Queens, but at least there is more territory you can cover.
It's interesting. I mean, I've been to Queens and Brooklyn before, and Manhattan's not like I've never been there, but still looking at that map occasionally, I'm like, man, is it really that small?
No.
Queens is gigantic.
Yeah.
And they're condensing like 6 neighborhoods into a pretty small like section of it.
Yeah,
but
to be fair, the map screen does show plenty more urban sprawl off to the side that you can't actually go interact with. But
no, Forest Hills is not immediately adjacent to Astoria. You have to go a little further.
And it really is the mobility though. There's a lot they've added to this, but I think that the mobility stuff is the biggest new change because
the wingsuit especially,
the wingsuit is huge, and all the there's midair jumps and dashes they add around that stuff and everything, and there are all kinds of air currents you can use with the wingsuit to fly around super quick and get more altitude and stuff, to the point that you're never going to not swing. To be clear, you're always going to have to swing. Well, maybe once you get all the upgrades, not as much.
I use the wingsuit mostly when I'm covering bodies of water more than anything else.
Yes, but it almost felt like it was de-emphasizing the swinging at a point to me, because they give you so many other options for zooming around.
I wingsuit and then point launch so often.
Yeah.
I'll do the wingsuit and then I'll hit the current and then I'll do that, double web to point launch off a thing. I mean, when you have to chase down the cars, those are back chasing the car. Sometimes I'll swing because you pick up speed a little better than the flying.
Yeah.
But you get so many traversal options. It's bananas. Even hard to remember what you can do in terms of because you have 3 tech trees now. You have the Miles tree, the Peter tree, and a shared tree. And the shared tree has a lot of the traversal stuff in it, and kind of general Spider-Man stuff. And then you also have, suit tech? You have suit tech.
So
and gadgets.
Yeah, God, dude, there's so much.
Some of that stuff was already there. The gadgets were there before. They've just added more of them.
It's all of this. The game is very dense. There is a lot to keep track of, and it all is because in the past 2 games there was only 1 playable character, and now there are 2, and it does not feel like there are 2 games worth of abilities and upgrades crammed into 1, but there's definitely 1.5 games worth. I think there's suit upgrades are all passive. It's health and damage and focus accrual and stuff.
And traversal.
And traversal. There are 3 skill trees, like you said. There's the big common one, and then each character also has a second skill tree. Each character also has a set of abilities that are totally separate, and you can slot different abilities into each of their 4 slots.
It's your quick, you hold down L1 and face buttons abilities.
And there's all the gadgets with their own upgrade trees. There's a lot, and there are 4 or 5 upgrade token currencies
there's a few.
Hero
tokens,
rare,
city tokens, tech parts, rare tech parts.
Yeah.
To the point that any upgrade you're on, if you don't have enough for it, there's a button that's where to find, and it lists out here are the activities you need to do to get hero tokens.
And then there's all the cosmetic suits, which are they have jammed every other cosmetic suit into this. And now they have, I'm going to use the word because I feel like everybody knows what it means now, but they have colorways, let's say, for the suits, which is man, I'm not wasting my tokens on suits right now. I got so much other stuff to upgrade. You're going to waste a hero token
on suits, and
the suits are rad.
Well, the thing is, some of them are. I also think some of them are kind of fucking hideous, but also a lot of them are, based on comic side stories and other things. So it's not their fault that they're hideous. It's just that they're rendering something that I think kind of looks like shit.
I'm with you on a lot of those suits. It's awesome that they're all in there. I'm only ever going to use suits that look sort of consistent with the base design.
Or just look good. Yeah.
I went for Miles is Daft Punk 20 was
that was 20 EDM suit.
Yeah, the one with the headphones in. It was 20. I can't remember the names. And then
there's Spider-Man 2099 stuff in there, which he's a factor in the most recent Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah, to be clear, I will use goofy suits once I'm past the story and doing mop up, because I might go for the platinum. Although I did say that about Miles Morales.
But I'm also changing the suits constantly. Literally, anytime I switch characters, I just plop them into a different suit because I just want to see what dumb thing they look like in the cutscenes when they're wearing them.
So to be clear, if you haven't played this by the time you've heard this, which you probably haven't, there's no early access for this one.
I don't think so. I think it's just out on Friday.
Sony's not really doing that
to
date, I don't think.
Yeah, I think there's just the regular version and then the deluxe version, which I think gets you like 10 suits and then some earlier access to 2 suits. I think you get like 10 specific suits. But the suits are not tied to the powers. The suit tech is its own tree, and they're just purely cosmetic on the suits part. So the traversal stuff is not only they are leaning into whatever technology breakthroughs they've had in their streaming tech, because you can upgrade the swing speed, the flight speed. I think you can also upgrade, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. You can get around fast. Like Brad, you mentioned the wind tunnels. You can move this city underneath you very, very quickly.
That's what they have been showing off as they've kind of been building this out, and also kind of, with Ratchet and the way that they were doing. I mean, there's literally a level in this game where they are straight up doing the Ratchet fun with portals shit. Dude, and it's mission, pretty good.
That mission blew me away. I was like, man, they've had some ideas here, and this is executed very well.
But yes, that traversal stuff it's amazing, because the fast travel is so fast, and not only is the fast travel fast, you can fast travel to anywhere you have. Okay, I guess we should say you have to unlock fast travel first.
Yes, you have to do enough stuff in a given region to unlock fast travel for it.
But once you have fast travel unlocked, you can fast travel to any place in that zone. So if you are like, I'm going to go do the side mission, you just hit the button on that icon, and you will fast travel to directly where that side mission is. And it's like, makes going around scooping up extra things so easy.
Yeah.
It's so nice, but the traversal's also so fast that sometimes I'm like, I'll just swing over there, because you move so quickly in this game.
And that's the thing, is I think the way they really want you to experience this, and the way they're trying to pace it out for the player, is that you are hitting these side objectives on the way to whatever the next big thing is. There's a ton of repeated content. I mean, when I say repeated content, I mean it's the same type of mission objective, spread throughout every region of the city. And if you just sit there and try and do them all in one big, kind of clump, you will burn the fuck out fast, because that is just not the way. It's too similar. Too much of it is too similar for that to be the way. So and this is the way I played Miles Morales in the first game, which is that I would just swing to whatever the next, either side or main objective was, and anything that was along that path, I will deal that stuff dotted along the way. But anything else, I'm just leaving it for later, because it will be there, and there will be a lot more of it all the time.
That's 100% how I'm playing too. If you did all the science experiments in a row, you'd get really burned out on. There's a lot of mini games also.
It's a lot of mini games.
A lot of little mini games to do in these side missions.
There's a rhythm game that pops up at one point.
Yes.
I've been doing the full collect the zone stuff, but I did stop at some point because Brad, you mentioned this off mic as well. They lock so many things behind narrative beats that it's kind of in your best interest to at least hit some kind of big milestone in the story to unlock a lot of that stuff before you start hunting things down. The crime events seem like they are infinite and randomized in a way that,
and not more interesting than they were in the previous games.
And you can do those to grind up level in a zone, but really I was doing that for a bit, and that gets old pretty quickly. I don't think that's the way to do it. There are more than enough collectibles, mini games in a zone to get that level up without having to grind out those crime events. There's a lot in a zone, and most of it, 80% of it's going to be locked until you hit some point, and then it all comes rushing in a tidal wave opened up. You guys want to take a quick break, and we'll continue talking about Spider-Man?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, stick around. We got some more to say about Miles and Peter and the rest of the Spider crew. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we are talking Spider-Man 2. Let's get a little bit into some of the combat, because the combat in this game also, I think, feels maybe as good as it's felt in Miles or Spider-Man, the original. They have given you everything. And
they've given you so many abilities that are all on timers, and so many different ways that you can kind of pop dudes up and do random things to them. A lot of it was there. All the shooting guys with webs and, swinging objects at them and, kind of air juggling guys. All that stuff was there before. But in tandem with, some of the new power abilities, Peter has his 8-legged mechanical spider suit tentacle thing that I think is sort of based on the Octavius tech.
Yeah, it looks like that. Did they ever like depict him getting that in a past game, or is that just like I was like shocked when I saw these like mechanical spider legs like burst out of his back for the first time?
It's been long enough since the first one that I don't remember if that's where the Octavius stuff landed, was with him having any of that tech, but it's definitely based on that. And then Miles' stuff is his electric powers, which are continuing to build out and morph in different ways. Yeah,
looking at Miles' skill tree, this never hit me when I was playing Miles Morales, the game, 3 years ago, but like retrospectively, maybe is it a little weird that they named all, maybe it's from the comics, but they named all his powers like Venom powers now, considering what this story is dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think Venom is in this game, the character. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously the symbiote stuff is all over.
They've showed pictures of it.
Okay, yeah, right. So like, I don't remember, but maybe those things tie together and I actually don't know that.
Well, I mean, we have to talk a little bit about kind of what the story setup is here, and I want to say that like what they're doing is signaled very much at the like literally the opening scene of the game, because it is Harry and Norman Osborn, and Harry is suffering from whatever, I forget what the condition is, but it was the thing that killed his mother.
Yeah, I don't think they ever say
explicitly.
It's some kind of genetic condion, but they don't really say what it is. But
and
he's
like
going through radical experimental treatment, which they show, again, very much at the beginning, is the symbiote suit. They have a hold of that, and that is what they are using to treat him.
You see creepy symbiote shit come out of him in like the first 90 seconds of the game or whatever.
Yeah.
I went back and read up on, refresh my memory on the old games. I guess that stuff's teased and even like shown post-credits in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see him in the tube with the weird black ooze a little bit, I think, at the end of the first game. I mean, that's been a while. It was 5 years ago.
But Yeah, and so the thing they seem to be angling at, because there's no indication that Eddie Brock is anywhere in this video game, or is a going concern for whatever this timeline, the storyline is doing.
Again, we are not completed with the game. So
no, I mean, it's possible they'll just introduce that character somewhere along the way, but what they seem to be angling more toward is the idea that if there is a Venom in this universe, it is Harry. It is Harry Osborn.
Could you help me real quick? And also, I don't know how much the movies changed this as well, but so Norman Osborn is Green Goblin, right?
Yes.
Harry Osborn also was
He becomes Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin, that's what I was trying to think of. Okay.
Who are somehow different characters, but are part of the same family line, yes.
I'll say this too. They have a previously on at the beginning. I don't think it does a great job of recapping the last two games. Really, it just.
I'm glad I remembered most of it because it is not the best recap.
It's just the broadest strokes of the first
two
games.
The broadest. Like Miles' dad died. And like that's kind of it.
Like they cover Miles' dad dying and him getting bit by the spider, and then Peter kind of taking him under his wing, and then. I think they mention like Uncle Aaron a little bit, but they don't get into much of the detail of either of the games. Like like when Yuri showed up, for example, in this for the first time, I was like, wait, who? Because the dialogue leaps straight into details that, if you don't remember them, are just very confusing. And I was like, wait, what role did she play before? And they're like similar with some Miles characters.
And the villain Lee plays a pretty big role in some of the early story stuff.
Martin Lee, who plays Mr. Negative, or is Mr. Negative.
You get some in-game contextual stuff about what happened there, and like they kind of flesh it out a bit, but not in that previously on part really much at all, or at least that I remember them doing. And it's a big deal, and the whole corporation and Miles' friend is not really touched on. It's just like. So it felt a little light. I actually went back and watched it again because I think that same part you were talking about with Yuri, I was like, oh, did I miss that in the previously on?
Yeah. I ended up just going and reading synopses of both games after that because I just felt like I was missing stuff.
It might be worth
does happen, and the thing is, Insomniac is doing the thing like the Telltale Batman game did, which is to say, they are telling a story with characters but it is not just hitting the beats of the story that everyone knows about these characters. They are kind of playing around with their own vision of the universe. And I want to say there might have been a Marvel thing somewhere in the many timelines of Marvel where Harry Osborn was Venom, but I don't know about that. Like, I'm not familiar enough with wherever that storyline may have come from. My Venom growing up was Eddie Brock, and that was just very obviously the Venom that shows up, and that is the symbiote suit, and then Carnage comes along, and there's that whole thing. But what they seem to be angling at the very least is that if there is a Venom in this game, it is not going to be Eddie Brock. And also, a lot of the stuff that you know about the existing villains, or people that are sort of like the mainstays of the Spider-Man universe, a lot of them are kind of just on the sidelines in this story until Kraven shows up, and their only real purpose here is to be things that Kraven are after.
There's a lot of which I kind of like in this story. There's a lot of villains just trying to get on with their lives. Like
they really hammer the idea that most of these dudes have moved on, the ones that aren't still in fucking fake Arkham prison.
Yeah, and then the interesting thing is whether they've moved on or not, they're all victims here. Like the supervillains, the supervillains are becoming victims of Kraven. So it's an interesting kind of inversion of the dynamic there.
I mean, let's be clear. They opened this game with Sandman 9/11. Like, Sandman has lost his shit, but it's not because he wants to go out and do evil. It's because he is freaking the fuck out because he's being stalked by Kraven's people. And, so he does a full-on psychotic break that causes him to turn into Sandman Kaiju.
And he also, or I should say, there is a lot of citywide destruction in this game.
Yes. The game opens with all of that, and then for the next couple of missions, you're just walking around in what is basically not ash-strewn, but sand-strewn New York, while first responders are running around trying to fix the city.
Yeah, they are not shy about destroying other landmarks or public works or whatever.
No.
Everything gets destroyed
in different missions. Yeah,
and it's like cinematically kind of intense. Like, they do a pretty good job with the cinematics and the destruction for the most part. It's a very good looking game.
Yes.
I think the characters look pretty good. I think all those spider suits look good, and that's what you want, right? Because it's third person swinging around.
It is. There's a weird thing, and I don't know if it's just me or not. I find most of the character models and the faces to be really good. There's something about Peter's.
Yeah.
Where, it's not that, they haven't done the work on the character model or anything, but his face just never really emotes at all, and I don't know what that is.
I know exactly what you mean. I don't think that's limited to him. I think a lot of characters look just a little bit stilted. I mean,
MJ seems to have it a little bit too.
Yeah.
But, Harry has actual facial expressions.
Yes. Yeah,
Miles has actual facial expressions. Something about Peter, it's just, he feels a little bit frozen.
I don't know. Maybe we're just spoiled by all the facial performance capture that's in use these days. That I don't know that was employed here as much. But it does look a little bit robotic in
it's a little stiff,
for sure. I think broadly this game looks incredible. Or actually, really, it's the swinging around the city that looks fucking mind blowing. Especially
the in movement stuff. The in moment to moment, just moving around looks amazing.
The up close, in interiors or up close combat or whatever, looks very good. It looks like next generation Spider-Man, but specifically the high up in the sky, flying and swinging around the city stuff, especially depending on the time of day. And they do the cool thing. I love a dynamic day-night cycle, but I love the thing they do here, which is keying time of day and weather stuff to the story.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff only changes as you move story milestones along, and that kind of helps. That helps them author the mood of the city and the surroundings along with what's happening in the story, which I think is great.
It does also get a little awkward in places, though. If you go and do a side mission that takes place during a particular time of day and it's a different time of day, it will just shove it back to whatever time of day that mission is in. Yes. And then when you're back in the world, it's back to where it was before.
It's a little goofy, but I still don't mind it for the really impressive mood that they're able to strike in different spots. It is one of those, I think you both, Davini definitely, I think Alex, you've also gotten into this, is one of those times of day, wildfire smoke.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Catch that.
There's one,
I don't know if it is or not, but there's definitely a real orange hue over the sky in certain time at a certain time of day.
There is one you hit that is this really thick, oppressive, orange, yellowish color that is.
I feel like it's more of a style choice than
coming
anything
from
else.
One direction of the sky in particular. And the sun, it's 10 or 11 in the morning, so it's not a dawn.
Yeah,
just
golden hour
Jersey.
It's it very much read to me like they're kind of playing on current events a little bit. I could be wrong, but that's what it looked like to me.
just speaking of New York as a character here for a second, they maybe go a little too hard into like, I'm walking here, New York, this city's awesome, New York is great.
The bit where you're going around and you're like photographing the heart of New York, like the weird bits of like, look, it's some guys playing basketball. Hey, it's a souvlaki shop. Hey,
it's a guy selling hot dogs at a Coney Island hot dog stand.
There's a secret bar in this water tank for some reason.
That's so New York.
I laughed out loud at that one.
Yeah, that one's really silly.
There's like a little 3-person rave going on inside of a rooftop water tank.
It's like okay,
it's a little corny.
This is the kind of New York you render when you have never been to New York. This is your dream version of it, and that's fine. Look, here's the thing. They are not trying for a realistic New York. They're trying for a realistic comic book New York. And totally. I think that they mostly hit that like right on the head.
They're absolutely nailing that tone for sure, and it's fun.
Yeah, I just found it like a little like, all right, get over yourself a little bit. Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's get back to where we destroy New York.
Let's go back to where let's definitely envision a version of New York where people are just like, you know, playing fucking soccer like right outside of like the museum, and people are just celebrating everything all the time in the city. It's definitely not just a bunch of people walking around and get the fuck out of my way.
Or like my rent went up.
Yep. This is not Eric Adams, New York. Let me tell you right now.
The city, I mean, you do a lot of these side missions do have hints of like, are you just tracking everyone's cell phone miles? Or is that what? There's
a moment early on where Peter, I think it's Genki who is having you deploy these drones. I think Peter's scolding Genki, not Miles.
We don't spy on people.
Like, we don't collect data on people. We can't spy.
Oh, don't worry, it's anonymous data.
This is all. He says, don't worry, it's opt-in.
It's opt-in. That's right. Oh, because it's right. The emergency system has gone down. The Spider app has gone down. Right. It's opt-in. Yeah. It's there are so many missions that you need a lot of kind of contrivances to have these missions happen. Of like, just like so many like. Okay, sure, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like 20 minutes into the game. It's like literally the first side mission that they introduce, where this one almost broke me until I was like, man, it's a fucking comic book. Who cares? Let's just go. Genki over the radio to Peter. It's like, hey, you still have that 3D printer in your web shooters, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm going to send you a design. And like he literally prints a functional drone out of his wrists in about 5 seconds. So I was like, man,
it's got some good tech.
So dumb.
This is not specific to this game or these games. It is a larger thing with the way they have developed Spider-Man's character over the last like decade and change. He's always been Marvel's Batman. Like, I understand that there has always been that analog between the two of them, but they have really blurred the lines to such a degree now that where it's like the sheer amount of gadgetry and technology that he has at his disposal compared with like the Spider-Man I was reading when I was a kid, it really just feels like they are indistinguishable from one another, except that one is unemployed and one is a billionaire. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's always had like weirdly named like kind of Batman style, like Spider Bike or Spider this or Spider that, but like,
and his cadre of villains, like none of them ape the fucking the cadre that Batman deals with, like literally Black Cat and Catwoman. Like, come on now, come on.
But yeah, they have a bunch of toys, which lead to like a number of different gameplay mechanics. Like you're sometimes doing just, I think like you said, Alex, sometimes you just find yourself in the middle of a rhythm game or you know, like there's a lot of button. I turned off the button mashing and just give me the hold the button thing, because like there's too much button mashing at some point in the game.
That rhythm game was a fun way for me to realize my TV had gotten changed back to like the theater mode, not the game mode. I was like, oh, I keep missing these, and I was like, oh wow,
bummer.
This feels way more responsive now.
Yeah,
and then
I was gonna say it's a pretty forgiving rhythm game generally.
It got a little difficult at the end. I thought that first time, but yeah, going back to the combat for a minute, you just have so many options at your disposal now. I feel like I've kind of just leaned into staying in the air constantly, because I do feel like the game doesn't break the combat, but you can get away with a lot more if you're pulling the enemies up into the air with you. Like even the brutes or guys with shields, if you get them, or bosses, if you get them off the ground and pull them in the air, you get free hits on them, whereas they're blocking everything on the ground. So like staying in the air, and you can spec to stay in the air longer with dodges and combos and this and that. My biggest problem with the combat so far, while I really enjoy it, is I can't remember what I've unlocked, like the button combinations, because there's just too much. It's just,
I've been the same way where it's like I'm getting there now finally, but like definitely gadgets and abilities, I would kind of just like hit R1 and square and not remember what it was going to do, but I was like, well, I need to use something right now. I'm just going to press the button combos and see what comes out.
Use whatever I got.
Yeah, that timer's ready. I'm just going to hit it. And
like a bunch of skill unlocks are around like charging those things up faster, giving you free uses of them when you like finish a combo and stuff like that. Like you can kind of be using abilities and gadgets like almost nonstop in this if you buy those skills and manage stuff correctly.
I kind of am, like, you know, there are a lot of abilities that on the gadget side, I should say, some of the abilities, but on the gadget side, a lot of abilities that'll are crowd control abilities, and they'll put people either on the ground temporarily or against the wall temporarily, where you can then use your webs to secure them to the ground. And again, that works on the bigger enemies too. If you shoot enough webs onto somebody who's on the ground, they'll just stay down and out of the fight.
Yeah.
Or which is really fun. And again, this is why I think I love the combat. It's a lot of rooftop stuff, and if you could just use a thing that pushes people off the roof, they're
dead. The person died.
No, they're webbed to the side of the building.
Webbed to the side of the building.
Yeah. We don't kill people.
There is they do a lot with the combat, the kinetic combat, but they also have added a few things for the kind of passive stealth combat, the more kind of let's avoid combat. And it's maybe one of my few complaints about the gameplay, which is if you break stealth, even if you have one person left, they immediately call in reinforcements, and you always have to do another truckload of guys. So like if you did the whole area stealth and you're like, oh, my last guy here, and you goof up or something happens, a whole van comes in and you have to fight your way through a whole new van. It's like, come on, man. I just spent 5 minutes webbing everybody up to a wall, and now I have to fight my way through this.
The hunter base I did this morning had an optional sub-objective to like turn off their communication system, and then Genki straight up says on the radio like that they won't be able to call in reinforcements now, which is cool.
I think those are that's the base, not the blind, right? That's the bigger base.
You do some hunter blinds, and that reveals the hunter base, which I think those are similar to there were bases in Miles Morales that were similar for that faction. Was that Roxxon, I think?
It was like the mob, I thought, or something. I can't remember.
Maybe
Roxxon was the big company.
Roxxon was the energy corporation. Maybe that was the mob. The big thing in stealth now is you can lay your own lines. You can shoot.
It's wild, man.
You can shoot your own web lines over people, kind of as many as you want, right? I don't think there's any limit on how many you can do.
I have not hit a limit. They kind of just limit you to if you have a flat surface, basically, to stick it to.
And I enjoy it a lot. It's really fun to make your own pathways over people to do stuff, but it really kind of trivializes the stealth, I think. Like it makes it very easy to just pick everybody off when you can create a walkway right over their head and then just go zip them.
I don't know if you've gotten it, but I highly recommend the going down the tech tree until you get the perch kill or perch
the double
the double, because that even does it more where you don't have to separate teams anymore. It has the same thing where you can kind of Batman or Spider-Man, whichever one you want to use, just pull a person up off the ground, and then, or you could do the web strike thing. Miles has the camouflage, which you can kind of camo out and disappear quickly if you need to. I thought Peter was going to be the only one who had the traversal line, because I was like, oh, maybe he gets this instead of the camo. No, I'm not sure why Peter is any better. Initially, story stuff happens where you get more abilities and different things, but initially I'm like, I'm just always going to use Miles because he could just go invisible and get out of and the enemies lose track of you after a while and kind of reset. But it's a lot. I just find some of that a little tedious. Now that I'm further along in the game and I'm pretty powerful, I can clear out an area much faster than I can just stealthing around, trying to separate people, like doing extraction.
I still stealth through just because I'd want to cleanly take care of it and not have to deal with combat, because it's like kind of challenging. I was going to mention, like, I think the game is surprisingly challenging on the default difficulty, but
like, not get overwhelmed, but there are fights that you will sometimes be like, oh, fuck, I did not approach this correctly.
It's just overwhelming. There are some fights they just like, oh my God, I'm fighting 20 different enemies right now. This is kind of a lot. And there are robots that disable my abilities, and there's like a turret shooting rockets at me. The stealth stuff I was going to say, like the perch takedown animation is just long enough that it kind of gets old after you've done 20 of them in a row.
Right. Yeah, I hit the point now, the upgrades are very meaningful. I hit the point now where I've upgraded a lot of my gadgets to have really powerful secondary abilities. I've got 3 focus bars now, which mean I can refill my health or do those takedowns 3 times, which are super fast for like taking down those robotic dogs that can disable your abilities. Mm-hmm. I think the combat gets hard for me when there are many ranged characters on and they're just constantly breaking you out of a combo because you have to dodge. But you get abilities that continue your combo even if you dodge midair. So like there are fights where I am just in the air bouncing off of people the entire fight. It's kind of feels like the traversal when it's happening and you're like, this is amazing. I'm so good at this game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it doesn't work out. And I'm like, I'm terrible at this game. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like the traversal when I'm like, I'm flying through the city and then I just smack into a wall.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to chase down one of those cars or something. I'm like, I'm terrible at this. I don't know how to move through a city.
I think the wingsuit is the one that tends to throw me off the most. Like there's something about balancing the momentum on that thing where it's like if you don't get a good lift initially and get on a good path of where you want to go, it's real easy to just slam face first into whatever is right in front of you.
I've been mainlining the traversal upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it way better. Like the wingsuit gets much better after you get these. I think there's a steering one, and there's at least 1 or 2 speed ones as well.
Okay.
You get those abilities that'll like you can just straight up do a huge vertical leap in the middle of nothing on a cooldown, which also just gets you a ton of altitude if you just want to glide more.
I will say I probably now. This many hours in, maybe 3 out of 5 times hit the right button to stop the wingsuit.
It took me a while.
Not just turn the wingsuit off. There's like a real like hit the brakes thing, and I'm like, I never forget what this is. Is it circle? Is it back and X? Is it whatever it is? Without just crashing into the floor.
I have to give him credit for as like seemingly overstuffed as this game is with upgrades and skills and extra stuff to unlock. Like just about everything feels useful in one context or another. Like I don't feel like there's much in here that I have not used at times.
I wish I just remembered to use it more. Like like the traversal upgrades. I did the same thing with going down every path that had traversal stuff. And then I remember being like, oh right, I unlocked it because I hit a button combination that was like, oh, this slingshot move. I totally forgot I unlocked this like 7 hours ago and I never use it. Or the one where you can spin around in a big circle on your web to get that extra boost. And it's like, I never used this.
Yeah.
Which took me a while because I couldn't remember what to click in. They have to click in the left stick to dive. And I was like, wait, do you just push down? Or no, they want you to. There's just so many contextual button things to do that it is hard to remember. But I am glad when they're there and I'm in a fight and I'm like, right, yes, I bought that thing that lets me bounce off a guy.
I should try using that.
Yeah, like I was going to say, that you mentioned with combat, there's a lot of armed ranged enemies. Like they give you more skills for disarming enemies now.
Yeah.
At least I think these are mostly new. Like you can straight up just pull a gun out of somebody's hands now and throw it back at them from anywhere. That's just a simple skill.
You could do that in at least Miles, where you could spin it around with the web, I think, the weapon.
This one, I feel like you had to put them in some kind of state first there. Maybe not. This one is just a freebie you can do over and over. Like you can make it so any enemy you parry drops their weapon, stuff like that.
Have you been doing the parry stuff much aside from where you have to do it?
Yeah.
The only one I have to do it.
Started to do it more. That was another thing. Putting it on game mode, I was like, oh man, it's so much easier to parry people now. I think you do extra damage. Like I've just pretty much. I've gotten to the point where when I see the red indicator coming in now, instead of hitting the dodge button, I just hit the parry button instead.
But do you do parries on stuff that you don't have to parry? Because I do it on the red stuff, but like I never do it on regular enemies.
I don't do it otherwise.
Yeah, you have to do it on like heavies and the double blade enemies and stuff to put them in a vulnerable state. But I've started doing it to regular enemies too.
Okay. I should maybe mess around because I didn't do that side of that's a whole side of the tree for parrying. And I'm like, I just never parry unless I have to, unless it's a boss fight or those guys with the swords. Again, you can jump up in the air and pull them up in the air and they're vulnerable. So that got me away from parrying as well. Being on the ground, you can get overwhelmed extremely quickly. This game feels like it wants you to be mobile, bebopping around enemies constantly.
No, standing still is like the worst thing you can do in this game.
Yeah, you'll just have like 6 rockets coming at you, like enemies just running at you. It's a lot. But it's It's a lot of fun. It moves very quickly. Once I kind of felt like I had gotten saturation point on a lot of my side stuff, now I'm mainlining the story a little more. That was fun, and now I'm going back to cleaning up some of the side stuff again. You get meaningful stuff from the side things, either narratively worth it, or sometimes you'll get a piece of gear. Like I finished up the Prowler stuff, and I was like, oh, all right, that's like a meaningful upgrade you get from that. That's not just Uncle Aaron's story. About stuff.
I think they do a very good job though of pretty much every side thing, not just the mechanical rewards, but feeling like each one tells a tiny little story. Even if it's just Uncle Aaron, like you're going around finding his old Prowler tech stashes around the city, and like I don't know what happens at the end of that line, but after you finish each one, it's just like 3 lines of dialogue over the radio. But even then, you still get like character beats, character development as you're doing those. Did you guys do the mission with Howard, the guy with the pigeons?
No, not yet. No,
from the first game. That one's that one's pretty
I don't
good.
think so. Is it like an F? What's the app called?
Yes, the friendly neighborhood the FNSM.
Okay, I have not done a bunch of those.
Yeah, that one's an FNSM request. That one was like very poignant, I will say. There's been 2 or 3 things in side missions. There's also the one where like there's a lady's grandpa that wandered away.
That one I did do.
Find him on a bench and just talk to him for a while. Like that one and that Howard mission were both just like, man, it's like very good touching writing for such a short, like what could have been a throwaway side mission.
I feel like Miles missions. Switch to Miles. Miles going around helping people.
I also actually the other thing I was trying to think of, each character has like almost like a little mini campaign unique to them that are their kind of main side missions. There's like the app requests, science experiments, Prowler stashes, like the really basic repeatable stuff. But then it seems like each character also has like an actual like second tier side mission line. In Peter's case, he's like trying to track down a cult.
Yes. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with the barbecue cult?
A cult that's terrorizing the city, which has nothing to do with the main storyline. It's just a little side thing, and that's where Yuri shows up from the first game. And then Miles, I think Miles ones are all around his prep school. Is that right? Or his high school?
There's a bunch that are around the school.
I feel like I wrapped those up pretty quickly.
Oh, really? So I haven't done all those. I didn't know if those feed into another longer side story for him.
He's got another thing about a museum. I don't know if you've gotten to it.
No, I haven't.
Museum robbery.
Okay.
That feels a little bit more like the cult, maybe not as deadly as the fire cult.
But it's cool. It's just cool to see like they actually put thought and wrote story around these side quest lines and not just like throw away like go help somebody get a cat out of a tree.
Yeah, I mean, they don't all hit, but I feel like the ones that do very much do.
I just ignore the crime alerts now. They're like red triangles. Like
those are mostly just for XP and tech parts, and if you want to like try to max out a district or whatever.
Having done a lot of side stuff, I feel like you scoop. I think I'm a level 40 Spider-Man now, like in terms of my actual Spider-Man level, and I just feel like I don't know exactly where I am in the story. I think progress-wise, overall progress, I'm in the late 40s to 50% mark progress-wise, but you get stuff. You just get so many different currencies and XP, and I don't know, if I'm really cruising through it, I feel like every 10 minutes I'm leveling up at least. It's
easily.
like very fast.
Like you do hit points where you don't have enough of a currency to get the thing you want, but it's pretty fleeting. Like you're never going to hurt for like new stuff to unlock.
No. Again, especially if you're just swinging around the city and just doing stuff as it comes to you, like you will get enough.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, they do a pretty good job of being like, because they have so many currencies, being like, oh, you want this? Here's what you should do. Do a hunter thing or whatever. Like go get some hero tokens. I'm curious, and we'll see where I'm going to probably try and go for the platinum in this again. Currency wise, what you net out total versus cause some of them seem like a fixed currency. Like you're going to end storylines. Like the hero tokens seem like they might be fixed storyline tokens where you don't get unlimited. So I wonder if they have a couple of extra ones in there where you don't have to do everything, or if you have to do everything to get every costume, every bit of hero. I haven't really found a the currencies seem to bleed over into a lot of different areas. Like you can use certain currencies in multiple tech trees.
Yeah, that's actually, and within the same tech tree from thing to thing that you unlock, it'll be a different currency each time, which can get a little confusing. It's like, the first 2 of these use tech parts, but now I need hero tokens for the third one.
Yeah, it's like in like Remnant 2 where you're like, oh, I'm suddenly up to galvanized metal. Like, oh crap, I need to use my good currency now. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far. Like it's got a pace to it that having played through the other ones, I can't remember if I finished Miles or I watched my son finish Miles. I should really go double check. But like, I was kind of in the same boat I think you mentioned, Brad, of, all right, yeah, like I'm excited for this, but I don't know if I'm ready for a full-on big old collect-a-thon campaign. And it turns out what they did with this game, it's just fun and breezy to... again, some of the combat is difficult. I hit a boss encounter that I had to do 3 times because I was like, man, this is hard. But just they made it so effortless to get around that city and engage with these things that I'm actually really enjoying it. It doesn't feel tedious.
Yeah. That's what it is I think the first game had that checklist problem of like everything feeling a little too like I'm just ticking boxes while, in between story bits. Second one, Miles Morales did not have as much of that problem just by the scaling down of everything.
Yeah,
I think what they managed to do here is it's not that all these side objectives are that much more exciting or that much more interesting. I think they just learned how to pace them better and pace them within the world and natural progression that you are doing as you are just running around and doing stuff in the world naturally.
Yeah.
I think that is where they've managed to just sort of like they're guiding the player very, very lightly. You can go anywhere and do anything you want, but they're giving you like really nice, easy paths to just like cut a swath through here, do this over here, then move on to this story thing. Yeah. Like it just feels better balanced.
It feels very thoughtful the way things are laid out in this game, both in terms of physical placement around the map of things you're going to run into as you go from A to B, and also in terms of what unlocks when as you progress through the story and that kind of thing. Like it's just there's a pretty elegant feel to things rolling out in this, I think, in terms of side activities and upgrades and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've completed a couple of the side mission quests, and I finished there's an early one, like you mentioned, Alex, with the Sandman. I finished that one, and none of them feel like they drag too long. I feel like that was the event you do is generally fairly quick. None of them get too long in the weeds. And then how many you have to do, there just aren't that many. I thought I was prepared to be like, all right, this is going to be like a whole game thing. And I finished it, and I'm like not even halfway through the story. And I was like, oh, that's it? There's only like 12 of these or whatever it was to go get. And I was like, that's awesome. That's great. That one's done. And maybe it's fooling my brain because there are now, 10 times as many smaller sets of these things. But I think I like that better than one big set of them.
Absolutely.
It feels accomplishable.
Side activities range from like 90 seconds to 5 minutes, I would say. Like they're very quick to just pop off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the photo ones, super fast.
Yeah,
they kind of don't make you hunt around for stuff a lot. A lot of times you can just click in the left stick and it's just like, just go over here. Or hold the left trigger and some scanning visor comes over and you're like, just go this way. Like you really don't. Even they have this thing where you have to find these spider bots around the city, and it's like, dude, the animation for the spider bots is so you
the
can't
size
miss
of a
it.
City block, and all you have to do is get close to it and hit triangle. Like that's it.
Yeah, and like once you're close enough to it, it even shows the little white dot where it is, and it's like it makes a skittering sound. I just feel like they got rid of the like spend all this time hunting and pecking for the right thing, or like where are the backpacks and all of those things.
It's absolutely a map game, but it's like such a breezy, elegant one of those. Like
yeah,
it turned out when I thought I was just burned out on those kinds of things, it's like, oh, they made this one enjoyable enough and also approachable enough in terms of the length. I mean, part of that is informed by me knowing how long it is because they got out there and said, but like knowing I could get the platinum in this game in like 30-35 hours or something is like very appealing when we've had like 2-3 years of just like 80 to 100 hour games end to end like forever.
Yeah, I think the only thing for me that, obviously jury's still out on because I haven't finished it is just the story. Yeah. Like, I think right now, there's enough interesting hooks going on that I'm like, I'm very curious to see where they go with it. I can't say that any of it has necessarily wowed me, but I think the characterizations are strong enough that, like, I'm willing to follow them where they're going. I don't think Kraven is that interesting of a villain so far in the game, but like the game also doesn't feel like it's fully shown its hand as far as like what he's doing and what he's about. So I'm being patient with it. But right now he's just a gruff guy who gets mad when the person he wants to kill isn't strong enough. That's it. That is his whole deal.
Yeah, like
I've gotten a little more on him.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I've gotten a little more on him, and I'll be curious to see where you fall on it.
Okay.
I'm not. They add depth to him, but I don't know if it's the depth you want.
I mean, I don't know what I want from Kraven the Hunter, who has never been one of my favorite villains, but is one that the current Marvel universe apparently is weirdly invested in because he's in this game. They're making a movie about his character that fucking Aaron Taylor Johnson is starring in. Like, I don't know why Kraven all of a sudden Kraven Mania is here, but apparently it is here.
I'd literally never heard of Kraven the Hunter before the marketing for this game started. Like, that's how B or C tier that hero must be.
He's a villain, and I mean that's the thing is I knew him, and I've read comics that he was in, but I can't say that he's a character that ever made that strong an impression on me.
They do make him suitably imposing in this. Like the one thing
he has a fucking army.
I think his function in the story is mostly just as something to hang the hat of the actual character stories on. Like you need a villain running around messing things up in the city, but like if you ask me. I won't get too much into it, but like Miles and Peter each have stories that are more personal to them going on.
Yes.
And I feel like Kraven is just the villain who slots into the, like it could be any number of other villains that they could have written in to act in that role as
he's literally just the guy that puts the boots on the ground that you have to fight. That's what it feels like so far.
And I know Vinny said there may be more that happens with him. I don't know how much it ties into the Miles and Peter. To be clear, each have kind of their own thing going on.
Yes.
That is more personal. I don't know if Kraven maybe does end up tying into that stuff more, but
I mean, I think Brad, you're a little further along. I think you're about to hit this tipping point where the actual story is going to pick up. Like you're right about there.
Yeah, like I've got like the symbiote stuff is very much a factor in the story where I'm at this point, but not not full on suit yet.
So you're about to just tip over into what seemed, again, I'm not done, but it feels like up until that point, there wasn't a very big driving force to get everything done. And I feel like now there's like, okay, we have to do this thing. The stakes are higher now, right? Like, and that's what happened in the story.
I figured it would start ramping in that direction eventually. It's just it's taking its sweet time to get there.
It feels like they give Miles a lot more to do in the first, I don't know, 6 hours or something, but then once the symbiote stuff, and maybe it's just because I'm coming off a string of Peter missions that it feels like Miles has not been emphasized as much since the symbiote stuff started happening, but like that actually kind of gets into maybe like the one challenge of the storytelling in this, which is like it is hard to juggle two characters, right? And when you have the player spend 3 or 4 hours with one character, it's kind of easy to forget what was going on with the other one because they are two sort of intertwined but parallel stories that are happening with them. They're not 100% involved in each other's stuff.
Business.
Yeah.
But you can kind of imagine where that stuff might go.
Yeah, like, for sure. I'm sure I'm sure they tie it together toward the end, but
I also think Kraven is an interesting character because he allows you to do this kind of greatest hits of Spider-Man because he's looking for all these other supervillains that they get to kind of have a good reason to bring back into the story.
Sure.
Like, or at least our reason to of like, oh, Kraven went looking for Tombstone or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, like let's go check in.
The stuff that I won't say, but the stuff that happens with the Scorpion, like there's definitely there's a little bit of a question for me of like, what are Kraven's actual powers? Does he have powers? Because originally he just seems like a big buff dude who loves to hunt. Like that's kind of all they say, but now I'm wondering like, does he have actual superpowers? Are they going to explain or touch on that? Like I haven't looked up what the character is in the kind of lore.
My recollection is that he mostly just has superhuman tracking abilities more than anything else.
Okay, because they do sort of make you wonder if, like, is there some actual mystical or
they touch on it again in this game, like what's going on with Kraven a bit, and I think they touch on even where you are, like they have tech and money and arcane arts, and like they're pillaging what seems like the ancient history of hunting and like magical things, like
there's a conceit in this game that the hunters have optical camouflage, and it's like they're taking over entire city blocks with it practically at some point, and it's just another one of those suspension of disbelief things of like, I guess nobody in city government noticed that this entire block is actually now occupied by these evil people setting up a military installation.
Cloaking devices and like, yes, there is an occupying force in New York City that somehow has gone like they have a military force that is ridiculous that just kind of goes unnoticed, and the Spider-Men seem to be the only ones really, J. Jonah Jameson is worried about the Spider-Man.
Still grousing about everything. I'd
still an asshole.
As much as they have added to this, and I think it is still really fun to play in pretty much every aspect and looks amazing and everything, it's really the writing, I think, that is like making me super excited to get back to it. Like 4 comic book games, I don't know if that's a qualifier that needs to be added here, but I think for this style of game, the writing is pretty uncommonly good and has been since the first game.
Yeah, I think it's only gotten better with each one, and I think my current feeling is that like it's a little too aw shucks at times, especially when it's like kind of just trying to portray, look how idyllic things are now that Harry's back, and it's all great. But like, I think when they do decide to sink their teeth in, they're doing a better job than a lot of other games of this size.
Yeah, like Peter maybe has one too many that was epic style, like we just rode this roller coaster type stuff. I think like Miles is a more like naturally likable character.
It does really feel like a lot of the dialogue writing kind of got stuck in about a 10 years ago style of like youthful writing. Yeah, like the Peter stuff can be a little too cornball, but like the stuff between him and Harry has been really interesting so far as that develops.
I don't know. I think that the Miles stuff is written well, which makes you think that maybe Peter's just a doofus.
Well, Peter has always been some flavor of doofus. That is accurate.
Yeah, fair.
So like it's not, I think it might be intentional, because the Miles stuff seems like he is kind of aware and a little more hip. Where Peter, raise the controller to raise your hands, which was put your hands up. There's
one scene which I will not describe in detail, but there is a sequence pretty early on where you are just like, Peter, have you never seen the Hank Scorpio episode of The Simpsons? Do you not know how this goes?
I don't know if I have. You'll have to explain to me.
You know the Hank Scorpio episode, the one where Homer goes to work for the supervillain?
Nope.
You don't know that one? The one where he goes, they move him and he's working for the supervillain that is voiced by fucking Albert Brooks?
I don't think so.
Okay, first of all, what the fuck is wrong with you? Brad, you know what I'm talking about.
I haven't seen it since probably it aired, but yeah, I've seen it.
Anyway, the point is that like they put Peter in a situation where he isn't, and suddenly he's gone from unemployed to basically being offered the world in the most ridiculous startup company you have ever seen in your life, and at no point does Peter stop to think, this seems a little too good to be true. I wonder what could be going wrong here. He just shucks his way through this entire thing.
Yeah, I think the point I was trying to make about him though is that like, you can write a character to be corny but likable, or you can write them to be corny in a way that just makes you roll your eyes, and they sometimes are on both sides of that line.
They're walking that line.
There is a character, I think, Brad, you might have even gotten this part. There is a point where a character goes, geez, Peter, you really do see the best in everyone, huh? Which is like...
whether you should or not.
Yeah, which is like, yeah, I guess so. It's, I don't know. I like playing Miles. Peter's gotten better through the story. I think if you accept that he's kind of a corny dude.
Yeah. Just mechanically, I think Miles is also way stronger. He's got the invisibility, and I think his in combat abilities are also more fun.
He's got TBD.
Well,
keep going.
Okay, yes, there is a whole tree there's a whole Peter skill tree leg I have not seen yet, to be fair.
Yeah. That is Spider-Man 2. That is officially out on Friday, I believe, right? That is the...
yes.
Yeah, one last thing I want to mention before we go real quick. Mm-hmm. Just give me my tech minute here real quick. Like they open this game really well in terms of here's a menu of things you might want to tweak. This game has completely 1000% sold me on 40 frames per second modes. Like, Insomniac is really good at this anyway. Like Ratchet was the same way, but like they very clearly explain what everything does when they ask like, hey, how do you want to play this? Mm-hmm. And you need 120 hertz TV to do this. Like, I'm very glad I bought this new TV when I did, but the 40 FPS mode is basically, hey, you get everything, like all the ray tracing, basically all the resolution, all the bells and whistles, but it's smoother. And it like, A, good on them for explaining all that stuff and making it easy to pick what you're doing, and B, like the perception of smoothness in this, but still getting basically the 4K and the everything is just like, I feel like every console game with the budget to do this should be pursuing this at this point.
So like, I don't have 120 hertz TVs. So is it just like basically?
Are you sure?
I think mine's too old. It doesn't do it. At least I'm pretty sure it doesn't do it. I've never seen the option to. It's disabled in my PlayStation menu as well. So that's variable refresh and stuff too, right? Like it would be kind of packed in there.
Don't need VRR for that. They do have a mode where they're like, hey, you can do what would be the 40 mode, but we'll uncap the frame rate, so it'll actually go higher, but it'll go up and down, so it'll be less consistent. You can do that with
like unlocked kinda.
Yeah, but again, the language is very understandable of just like, hey, the locking it at 40 without the VRR is the most stable, like steady experience.
But so is it basically that just going from 30 to the 40 is a very perceivable difference?
It is a huge perceptual difference in smoothness.
And you think going from 40 to 60 less so, like diminishing returns?
I mean, I can tell the difference, like when I look at them side by side, but like the bigger thing though is they say flat out, like you won't get as much ray tracing, like the urban density of like pedestrians and cars will be lower, like X, Y, and Z will be diminished if you do this 60 mode, but if you do this 40 mode, you get everything, but it's smoother.
Huh.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm super duper impressed with the way they have implemented that.
Look, if games want to take that route, I might be in the market for a new TV.
I mean, you know, it's more TVs will be getting this as we go. Like mine was pretty modestly priced, and it just seems like a good compromise because there's so much like gnashing of teeth out there about like nobody's delivering 60 FPS modes anymore. Like what's up with that? You know, and like their consoles, their fixed hardware. Like, of course we were going to get to the point where they couldn't do that anymore, but this seems like a fantastic compromise.
Okay. I like it. 40 FPS. It's where it's at.
It's the future.
Spider-Man 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
There you go.
Again, out as of, I believe, Thursday midnight probably, but Friday. I think it's $70 entry point, and then you can get the deluxe edition out there. No PS4 version. Again, I think it's a really fun, fantastic game, and I'm just going to end by saying that fast travel, man. You got it. You got to see it. Maybe I'm overselling it, but like it's just a cool thing when you're playing to immediately zip around that map. Well done. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with the news. Stick around. And we are back, and that's it for the Spider-Man 2. But there's other big news that has two giant spiders, two giant...
You're really struggling with this
one. Two protagonists, two villains, two heroes.
Man, I was playing Spider-Man 2 last night, and next thing I knew, a giant spider was crawling across my foot. The fuck was this? Like this viral marketing stuff is getting really weird.
Did it bite you?
It did not bite me.
Oh man, you could have been the third Spider-Man. I'm of course talking about Activision.
I mean, the thing you beefed, I think, is that like what you should have gone with if you were going to compare it to Spider-Man 2 is. Speaking of a story that has a whole bunch of villains that are looking to reform themselves and move on to other things.
Okay, there you go.
That's the best I got.
It's not bad.
A bunch, one
villain,
let's just call him an anti-hero.
Microsoft has officially completed. I mean, for all intents and purposes,
it's done.
Officially completed their Activision.
It has closed. Yes, the deal has closed.
Activision Blizzard purchase, merger, whatever you want to call it, assimilation. Which means that's it. We've talked about it forever.
No more video games. We're done. That's the end.
It sounds like their big concession was with the thing we had talked about previously on some episode where in the EU, is it, or is it just in certain countries, they will be giving rights to streaming to Ubisoft that
was just the UK.
UK? Okay, so for Blizzard stuff, Activision Blizzard stuff will go through Ubisoft for like 10 years, is it? 15 years? Something like that. And that was for streaming. They will be the rights holders, and that was it. And then off to the races. Welcome to the Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, MAB world. It's a MAB world, and we just live in it.
Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, ZeniMax, MABs,
Mickelson. It's weird. When I first saw that this is like, we have talked about it for so long, and then I finally saw like, you know, Phil Spencer or Bobby Kotick or just people generally being like, yep, no, it just happened. It's like, damn, it happened, huh?
It happened.
It's very big, not just financially, like that. It's
for such an earth-shattering, earth-moving thing. It feels like it's just like, okay, that's done now. It happened. Okay, fuck, we just live in that world now.
I think maybe since the time this was announced to be happening, which feels like eons ago.
It was like 2 years ago.
And now there has been such a horrible contraction in the market with so many layoffs and stuff. And I feel like we're feeling a lot, or seeing, and not, we shouldn't say we, because we don't necessarily get affected by developer layoffs, but you know, the industry has contracted, and you see the effects of that consolidation happen, where like multiple studios under a roof, they have to kind of get winnowed down, or like a top line goes down. You know, for a lot of reasons, there've been a lot of contractions. You know, borrowing money's hard, and getting funding, and a lot of these things. So my initial reaction was like, oh damn, this happened. The market's in a different place than it was 2 years ago when this acquisition was kind of announced. I hope everybody is still on board and very happy, and we won't see any kind of post-acquisition readjustments. You know
well, no, I mean, we're seeing that right now already. Because there's at least one post-acquisition adjustment that's happening.
Yes. Also, according to Jason Schreier, I mean, not that he talked to everybody at the company, but he has talked to some who all are described as, did he say very excited? Yes, very excited are the words he used.
Within.
To describe the people he talked to at Activision Blizzard about this deal closing.
Again, I'm not saying that Activision Blizzard was a healthy company that should have been charting its own course. Clearly, the hands at the wheel were not good hands.
No, there were some health problems.
At the company. But Alex, you mentioned one kind of announcement here.
Uh-huh.
Is it talking about Bobby?
I'm talking about Bobby.
Yeah, man, this got addressed quickly, and the plan is much more aggressive than I expected. I figured he would be around for, well, I didn't know for sure what would happen. Like, there's always the possibility that somebody, even who has had the missteps, let's say, that he has, would have just sailed on through and just hung around, right?
Like disappears into the background?
Depending on the company, for sure. I mean, in Microsoft case, like, you know, Phil Spencer in particular seems pretty attuned to public sentiment and the values that they seem to at least outwardly try to espouse at Xbox are certainly not compatible with the various things that have been pinned on Bobby Kotick over the last few years. So, like, not super surprising that he's going to be out, but he's out on January 1st.
Yep.
Like, dude, he's got like
first
2
calendar
months
date
left.
I thought it would be anywhere between 3 and 6 months. A year makes total sense to me.
I thought maybe a year at most. Like, a year was a big round number where they could just kind of quietly push him out the door. But man, he's out.
He's out. He's gonna get paid.
Like, of course, yeah. There is a giant golden parachute attached to him.
That was always going to happen.
He was going to get paid no matter what happened. Like, he had, I think even this article you linked, Brad, from Ars Technica, kind of speculates about the difference between what he would have made if he was terminated versus what he gets if he leaves on his own. And it's, you know, it's like a difference of $70 million. They're speculating because they don't know for sure. I think it was $300 million versus $375 million. And it's
going to make a big difference in his life.
Yeah, well, I mean, the man could have stopped working 30 years ago. Well, not 30, but, you know.
Let's say a minimum of a decade ago.
Decades ago, he could have stopped working. Like, money is not the aim for people in his position. What I mean, sorry, like living comfortably is not the aim, is what I'm trying to say.
No, money, it's just accruing more money so he can accrue more power, so he can open a dance academy in Germany.
Yes, money absolutely is the aim. What I mean is money as a means to improve your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he passed the point where money could meaningfully change his life 20 years ago.
Yeah, this is, I don't know what, it's almost hard to sometimes comprehend what that kind of money gets you at some point, some kind of legacy or institution. I don't know.
Unless you move into the, like, Yeah, unless you move into like the super yacht territory, at which point actually you do need that kind of money to buy a yacht that can hold smaller yachts.
I guess it's status maybe too.
Yeah,
like
it's status.
You're starting to make your way onto lists of the most wealthy, powerful people, and you're like, well, okay. And well, yeah. So the story is here. Come January 1st, Bobby's out. I guess they're reporting he's going to transition, like they would say for anybody who is, part of this deal. He's going to help in the transition, and then they will part ways, and that's kind of it, right?
Yeah, not a lot of sentiment around that. More of a hey, we're doing our due diligence here by acknowledging that you were here a long time, and this was your company, and now it's not anymore. So bye.
I wonder. Well, this is a like kind of chicken and egg thing where you can't even entertain this alternate scenario. I was going to say, I wonder what would happen to him in this acquisition in a world where none of this wrongdoing had taken place. And like his tenure had just been smooth and ethical and blah, blah, blah. Like, would he hang around? But the reason that's not worth really talking about is because Microsoft bought Activision because it was on the back foot, right?
Yeah. Like that because it was a suddenly distressed property.
Yes, that was the whole story, was that because they were in such turmoil due to the mismanagement and such, that's what brought the acquisition about.
So what is this? Is like, so we're for all intents and purposes, let's say November. So this is basically 2.5 months, right? Like, and that's like probably by the time the ink dries on most of this stuff. I bet employees. Look, we've been part of very relatively smaller acquisitions and trading around. Sometimes this stuff doesn't even happen until a calendar year, where you're like still paid by the old company, and HR takes a while to process.
Dude,
so January 1st could be. Is it bringing back bad memories? I'm sorry.
Fuck, man.
You remember all of that stuff where you're like
some of the just like basic administrative bullshit that I had to deal with when we went from CBS to RV. Like, I spent most of that holiday break daily going back and forth with HR on just like expenses and basic stuff that, like, when you're an outgoing employee who's about to be somebody else's problem, all of a sudden people are not nearly as likely to like help you get basic stuff done.
And again, relatively much smaller scope than this. Relatively probably much smaller HR department too, but again, this could all just be part of like when the rubber meets the road, January 1st, and everybody's signed over. Again, speculation. I have no idea if this is true. They don't want Bobby in that house.
That's why I brought up the, like, clearly they don't want him around because of all the bad shit that happened. But I meant more just to think about, like, within this big management hierarchy, would there still even be a place for him there, even if there were not these other reasons to get rid of him?
I bet it would have gone back to what you and I were saying before, which is like he'd be around for a year.
Yeah, probably.
Like, he'd just kind of float around in some like.
That's probably just too many layers of leadership, right? Like I presumably after spending this much money, Microsoft probably wants pretty direct control of what they've bought without somebody who was there for 30 years.
Or he's got stuff in his contract that says if you terminate me during a thing, I'm going to get paid out even more, and then you don't get the work. You get your year's worth of work from him, your contract, and then you let him go versus termination during a transition.
Yeah, I guess what circuitously what I'm really trying to get around to is like, what are Microsoft's plans for Activision? Like, how intensively do they plan to micromanage what they're doing?
That's like, the $86 billion. How much was the acquisition?
70, it was like 69, I think. 70.
Nice. It's the $70 billion question, right? What happens next? Like, what's the first thing that happens?
Like, how aggressively are they going to just start calling shots with what they've bought versus letting the people who have, not the people at the top, because clearly people like Kotick are gone, but I wonder how quickly they're going to start moving pieces around on the chessboard.
I got this is probably coincidental, I just wasn't paying attention, but I did get a notification, I think yesterday or very soon, like this kind of went down on Friday, from Battle.net being like, hey, don't forget this, you got to change over your Battle.net authenticator, something is happening. And I was like, oh, wait.
Right, something is happening.
Is that can't be related.
There's something happening here.
I think it's, unless they were like speculatively doing a bunch of transition work, tech work on the back end, I bet just assuming this was going through, but otherwise it would probably be too fast for something to change like that.
Exactly. Let me see what it was. It was definitely something that was like, oh my gosh, it's all happening. And then I was like, oh no, this is Action required. This app is expiring and will no longer function. So it's probably just the end of life for the app version of the app.
I just looked it up. This is something from July where they were transitioning.
Just funny though, right? To be like, oh my gosh, because one of the things that I would say is, we talked about this last time when we were talking about stuff coming to Game Pass, is what happens to Battle.net, right? Does it get rolled up into some Microsoft service, or
the account merge stuff that happens between Xbox and Battle.net is going to be really interesting to watch play out and see what decisions they make, because it's not like Battle.net is some fly-by-night. It's not the Bethesda launcher or even EA's Origin that kind of hung on for a few years and then went away and nobody cared about. Like, Battle.net logins are quite old and have been in use for a long time, and people actually care about them. So what's going to happen there is interesting.
What happens when I have my Xbox, my Game Pass account, or whatever they call it now, the Super Pass, and like my Battle.net account, and there's games on both of these, but they're also showing up in the Microsoft store. Is there a Battle.net store or a Blizzard store anymore that has a Diablo 4 in it, or is that just on the Microsoft store where I'm getting it also? Can those accounts talk to each other? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, like at least on PC, obviously, where that's the most relevant. Yeah, like games that have been exclusive to Battle.net on PC, are those just going to be on the Microsoft store in 3 months? I don't know. It's a, there's probably a lot of paperwork in this, I assume.
That's an understatement.
Let's just assume, for simplicity's sake, Brad, you mentioned a little bit of this when we were talking during the break. Let's just assume, for simplicity's sake, all of the IPs have been transferred under Microsoft soft ownership, right? Nothing got excluded. So now Microsoft has the entire Activision Blizzard catalog to kind of pull from. Are there ambitions to go and like get to work on this stuff? Yeah, like there's quotes floating around from Kotick and Phil Spencer about like remaster type stuff. I mean, Kotick, I didn't even put the stuff in the news. I think Kotick said something about like, oh, now that it's part of Microsoft, now there are resources to actually remake some of these property. Like, fucking come on, man. You could have made any game you wanted.
Yeah.
As Activision Blizzard, but
you just didn't want the board to yell at you if one of them didn't pan out.
Like maybe he knows he's getting out in 2 months and he's just like, I'm going to set Phil up for this one.
Yeah, like Phil was out there talking about like something along the lines of just like, hey, if there are any teams at Microsoft or Activision who want to take a look at some of this back catalog IP that belongs to Activision and like approach it in a real serious structured way in terms of some kind of remake, like we would be all for that. So
Pitfall. Make a Activision brawler. Was there ever an Activision brawler? Like a mascot brawler?
No.
Mascot brawler?
Yeah, like a Smash Brothers.
Like a Melee, but for Activision?
Yeah.
No, they've tried some Crash party game type stuff. That's not really what you're talking about, but like kind of a little bit.
What was Sony's?
PlayStation All-Stars.
All-Stars. And Microsoft never had one either, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Yep. They do now. No, I don't know. Nobody can out Smash. Just don't.
No. It's the ultimate. I'm looking through older Activision
is this Forbes list to be trusted of IP? Well, no, of course it's to be trusted. All the stuff checks out. I just wonder how comprehensive it is. Also, I love this is alphabetical order. So you get Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Diablo. Number 4, Gabriel Knight.
Of course.
Sure.
Number 5, Geometry Wars. Number 6, Guitar Hero. Number 7, Gun. Make a new gun. Don't make a new gun.
So it's hard looking through some of these lists because I'm looking through a Wikipedia one now, but some of these are just published by Microsoft early on and were not developed, or and I'm not sure they own the IP for some of these.
You mean Activision?
Sorry, Activision. Yeah, like
like Sekiro's not on this list, so I wonder if they did not. I thought Activision drove a hard enough bargain that surely they would own the Sekiro IP after that deal, but maybe it's not on this list, so I don't know.
It might be one of those things where it's just like it's just not simple enough for them to say, well, we just own it. It could be like some sort of co-ownership. This is just a Forbes summary of here's stuff that Microsoft now owns, such as Laura Bow.
Okay.
Great.
For example.
Never been a better time.
They should make a new Laura Bow games. I was always really curious about those. Yeah. Spyro. True Crime. Anybody?
Oh my gosh.
Zork?
Wait. That's theirs for sure?
Yeah, Activision has owned Zork for
ever?
Yeah, that's not a new...
Okay. I think ever. I'm not... But definitely at least as far back as the early 90s.
All right.
Hang on. Wasn't Zork was originally Infocom? Maybe
That's what I thought, but
maybe Activision took ownership of the Infocom catalog at some point. I don't know. Anyway,
very possible.
Just spitballing here. People seem stoked. Jason Schreier, like I said, reported that the people he's talked to are, and he clarified on Twitter, he meant specifically they're excited for the C-suite to change over.
Oh yeah, I imagine if anything they're excited about, it's rest and piss Bobby. That's what it is.
Just getting new leadership in to run things instead of the one that has really effed stuff up over the last several years.
Man, I'm trying to look through Activision's catalog from the last 10 years, and I mean they really just tripled down on Call of Duty and
No, it was the last decade and change of Activision has been finding the one thing and running it into the ground.
Yeah, I almost got into it last week when we talked about the AI Guitar Hero thing. Like, when Call of Duty blew up, they were at least a kind of multi-pillar sort of company because they had Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, and Tony Hawk. You know, it was like, oh man, they're like, you know, however I feel personally about those franchises, like they're huge. You know, like they've got 3 of the biggest properties in video games going. And then Tony Hawk and Guitar Hero both completely fell off.
Yeah. And
you kept going like, what are they going to replace those with? And it turned out to be nothing. They're just going to triple down on Call of Duty as hard as possible.
You know what? You guys are so much better at this part than I am. I need to look up a list of Activision in-house studios. Like, who's left there that has a name?
Yeah,
that isn't a Call of Duty studio.
That's a weird question because yes, so many of them have just become Call of Duty support studios or porting houses or have been renamed from what they were originally to.
Right.
They have on Activision.com/company/locations. There's plenty here.
Okay.
Beanox, remember them?
Yep, totally.
Let's see. High Moon Studios still around. Raven is always the first one I would say.
Oh, okay. So High Moon is internal, which means so they did those Transformers games, right? That's High Moon.
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay. I mean, obviously they don't own Transformers license, but those games could use a remaster if they can get the licensing again.
Yeah. I mean, there's the obvious huge ones: Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward,
right?
Treyarch are the big Call of Duty like main studios.
Is Toys for Bob still a studio?
They're still on here.
Huh.
I'm not sure.
I want to say they got shifted around somewhere, but they are still around.
I also remember reading something that they kind of got short shrift on some roadmap or something.
Okay. And then there's just all the different city names, right?
Yeah, like Vicarious Visions was one until they got renamed to like Activision whatever. Activision New York or something.
Sherman Oaks.
Anyway.
Okay. That answers my question a bit. Demonware. What's Demonware?
A good name for a game developer. I don't know.
Analytics warehousing for Call of Duty and Skylanders.
Of course.
Okay. Like again, I feel like everything just kind of got sucked into the Call of Duty black hole at some point.
Oh yeah, like that was the thing with I think wasn't Singularity the last game that Raven made entirely as a studio by itself before they just became a Call of Duty studio.
Singularity.
Singularity was good.
You know, I as apprehensive and I think legitimately critical of this acquisition is, or that I am, and skeptical of it because I think consolidation this big is rough and it can be rough in the long run. Activision and Blizzard, I think, were in tough spots. I think even Blizzard just felt like they were going in circles in some capacity.
I maintain my position that in this very specific circumstance, this is probably a net good for all the people who work at this company. It certainly seems like they feel that way.
I mean, what it means to the business is a much larger conversation, but at least for people that were, stuck at Activision Blizzard and just trying to fight through the muck of everything going on there, I have to imagine any kind of restart has to feel like at least there's a possibility here. Yeah, and I believe Microsoft has said in the past that they will recognize the existing union.
They just confirmed that too. That they said they're going to remain neutral, which means that they're not going to
They're not going to fight it.
Yeah, if the workers want to have that union here, then they will. That's what they say.
I guess that's the best you can hope for.
Right. Yeah. They will allow them to have their own agency and choose it's CWA, is that what it is? I forget the union that Activision.
I forget which one they're associated with, but
there was, I want to say Bethesda or ZeniMax, the QA workers had a union within Microsoft recently, right? Didn't they also unionize?
There was something going on there, yeah.
So it's definitely not their I don't think it's their first. It might be their second stab at a union, but so that's look, did I expect Microsoft to go one way or the other on the union stuff? Probably not. If I would have guessed, they probably would have said we'll revisit it. But staying neutral, I guess, is a positive in this world we live in with stuff getting shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of TBD here. For the consumers and people out there, what this looks like, I really have no idea. We've never been through one this big before.
Yeah, well, there's never been one this big. This is the biggest, at least certainly the biggest. Well, I don't know if it's all cash, stock, whatever the nature of the transaction. This is the biggest acquisition in U.S. history, if I'm not mistaken.
And I mean, for me, I don't know if I know an Activision without Bobby there. I feel like he's been the specter in Activision for ages.
Can't wait to find out what that world looks like.
Yeah, it's always weird going back and reading about when he came along, because Activision was a storied game, like Atari developer in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Activision was like a bunch of rebels who busted out of Atari and said, "Fuck this place, we can do it ourselves." Had made a bunch of classic games, but then they fell on hard times. So there was a previous incarnation of Activision before it became the Kotick House.
Yeah, I don't think my
very different
Game
company.
Sense was aware.
I think didn't he buy whatever was left of Activision for like $500,000 or something?
I do think that's like at least I feel like part of the Bobby tale is that he bought it for a song and then turned it around or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When did they get Blizzard?
Activision never bought Blizzard. That's like a common misconception. Blizzard has not been independent for long in its history. Like it got sold. It first got sold to like Davidson and Associates, I think was the not like in the 90s. Like,
oh really? Okay.
Like I think, God, I'd have to look. It was maybe before StarCraft. It might have been before Warcraft, actually. Like
really,
Blizzard has almost never been independent.
Okay.
They got passed around from one owner to another until they ended up at Vivendi. And then remember, it was the merger of Vivendi and Activision that created a new company called Activision Blizzard.
Dang, man, this industry.
I know.
It's
a mess.
Do you think? What do you, Brad? What do you think happens to Activision Blizzard as brands within Microsoft? Let's just spitball 5 years out. Are they separate things where like they kind of have a Bethesda,
just like what's on the box, like?
Yeah, like how a Bethesda game is coming out, like a Fallout game is coming out of Microsoft. It's obviously a Bethesda game. Do you think they have that same kind of autonomy within there for Activision?
Well, I guess those are two different questions. Like there's managerial autonomy, and then there's also like public facing sort of brand identity.
Let's start with public facing. Like a Call of Duty game comes out, is Microsoft labeled on there in a prominent way, or does it still say Activision?
My gut is that among names like Activision and Blizzard and Bethesda, like Activision is way, way, way less revered than any of the others.
Yeah.
But I can't say for sure. Like, does the Call of Duty audience care if it says Activision or Microsoft? I have no idea.
I don't think they care.
I would lean toward they probably don't, as long as the games stay good and continue to be what they want. They don't care who is on the box.
I also feel like Activision and Blizzard at this point just don't have strong personalities, like I was gonna say like a Pete Hines or
like a face.
Yeah, like a face where it's just like you get up on a stage and we're going to talk about Activision's portfolio and their games and they don't have that.
Since it became clear that things were not good at Blizzard and Morhaime got out of there, there has not been. They tried, they put J. Allen Brack in that position for a while, but then he left as part of the scandals. So there has not been like a strong Blizzard face or sort of, that has not existed in a while.
I guess there's one path where they do that. They find someone to go in there with those existing teams, and they kind of gets it under control in a way that Microsoft sometimes feels very smart about in leveraging brand nostalgia, right? Like Microsoft realizes that, gets someone in there, and they do have a carve out during Microsoft press conferences where like, hey, the new head of Activision, and we're talking about like, you guys love Tony Hawk. Here's Tony Hawk on stage. Like, we know what you want. Like, we're gonna bring him back. Actually,
if they like, do they put somebody in the Kotick position or not, I guess is probably the biggest question.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to, right? Like, just on the org chart, there has to be somebody in charge of Activision, right? So
presumably.
But I think Blizzard absolutely retains its name.
Is that, yeah, for sure. Yes. I think whatever.
I think at most what you see is a de-emphasizing of Activision branding, but it is always its own division to some degree. And it, it all eventually answers back to the Microsoft games people in the end. But I imagine they give them some room to exist outside of just Microsoft's Call of Duty, but maybe over time that changes.
Yeah, whatever damage the Blizzard brand has weathered recently, it's still way too valuable to not keep as a public-facing thing. I think Activision is much more disposable in that regard, but it'll probably stick around.
And we all know who really is running the show. It's the mobile. So it's Candy Crush.
Oh, yeah. King is obviously, it was the focus of the deal. I don't know if you know that.
King, the thing that everybody talks about constantly in the context of this acquisition, King.
Look, King makes a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, we're being flippant, but like King prints money like all big mobile companies like that.
Like, I genuinely do believe that Microsoft just buying their way into mobile is a thing that is a big reason that they went after Activision.
Yeah, I don't think they're lying about that aspect of it, but I think they also overemphasize that specifically because they wanted to de-emphasize the other thing that they really wanted.
That is exactly it.
Also it gets them a little out. It gives them a bit of an out in court to say like, look, we don't have we're not established in mobile where they're established in games already, to say like, we're not causing monopoly here because we don't have this already, and this is our tactic. But King's just going to sit there and probably print money for them in the background and get ready for it to be flooded into Windows. I don't know. Isn't Candy Crush already probably come installed on Windows? Probably.
Yes, I believe. Well, I don't know if that changed in 11, but yes, I think at least for a long time, Windows 10 had a built-in Candy Crush link in your start menu.
Okay, well, I better get Candy Crush on Game Pass. I don't think I've ever played Candy Crush. I'm not sure what it is.
You're probably good.
Is it a clicker? What do you do?
It's a match 3.
Okay, great. Crush that candy.
Yeah.
So Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard.
Yeah. I bet they'll stay relatively hands-off in the short term.
They always do.
Probably. I don't know if we take the ZeniMax thing as instructive, at least from the outside looking in, it seemed like they kind of just let Bethesda and ZeniMax keep going on the stuff they were already going on for the first couple of years.
I think, Alex, you mentioned this too. I feel like Bethesda was maybe in a bit of a healthier place. I feel like they're, at least, again, Brad, you made a great distinction, internally versus externally. Internally, they probably have a stronger hand in making sure employees are trusting of this new environment.
Although we'll get right into it with this next story. I mean, Microsoft did make some decisions affecting them, specifically making Starfield exclusive to Xbox was probably the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In terms of changing the course of what they would have done on their own.
Do you guys know, just kind of quickly, anything that was in the works aside from always Call of Duty at Activision that will be one of the first things published under Microsoft?
That Activision was already doing?
Yeah, that's I really don't know their catalog anymore.
I can't think of anything, honestly.
Neither can I.
Or Blizzard for that matter.
I mean, Blizzard has ongoing Diablo updates, just seasonal at this point.
Diablo seasons and WoW expansions are always happening, but other than that, I can't think of any boxed.
Probably Overwatch seasons, maybe another
Blizzard products that are on the way.
All right. I guess we'll find out soon. All right, Brad, want to take us into the next Microsoft bit of news here?
Yeah, Pete Hines of Bethesda is retiring.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Both publicly for a whole host of reasons. I'd certainly have worked with Pete quite a bit over parts of my career when he was more involved with PR and marketing over there. But he'd become the face of Bethesda, like you said. He was the guy. He became the MC of their stuff as they, I don't know. We could walk this way back to Bethesda's ambitions to become a bigger player in the publishing space, right?
Mm-hmm.
When all the E3 press conference slots were like Ubisoft, EA, Activision, like the big ones, and then all of a sudden, it was like, whoa, there's a Bethesda press conference now.
Right.
What was that, around like 2015? Maybe it was the first one, I'm guessing. Something like that. But yeah, it was like, oh, wow. Like they are trying to become a big player.
Yeah.
They've got their own ESA press conference slot. And then Pete became the guy who was out there on stage doing the pitch.
Yep.
Pete was the guy who came out and then introduced Todd at the end, right? For the big game where like Todd would come out and be like, here's your next Fallout game. How long was he there?
24 years is what it says here. He started, I think, in the 90s.
Dang, man.
I think he probably started somewhere in the Arena to Daggerfall era, somewhere around there, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
man,
the Dagger Zone.
Yes. Anyway, like I said, he was much more involved in the actual PR operations 15 plus years ago when I.
Very involved in the PR operations, and also maybe somewhat notoriously one of the people that held some grudges over the years.
Yeah, who knows? Who can say what decisions were being made? But Bethesda certainly is known to, like I believe Kotaku to this day is still, is still cut off. I'm not sure what the state.
I'll say for my part, I never ran afoul of that guy. I never really ran into any issues with him. But like people have repeatedly told me over the years, it's like, well, we're not getting code because Pete decided we're not getting code.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I always found him to be quite fair and magnanimous with me. But but yeah, who knows where those edicts were, if he was making those decisions or if they were coming from above. Who can say? Anyway, there were some emails that came out in discovery or whatever you call that process of documents. I guess it's discovery in an acquisition like this. Some emails with him like not thrilled about some of the Microsoft decisions that had been made with respect to Bethesda games after they got brought in. I think I don't remember. I didn't look the emails up for this show, but I think it was stuff around which games were going to be day one Game Pass and which were not, like kind of which games were being put in the sort of prime position in terms of marketing and that kind of thing. I know, like everything else aside, like that was an interesting glimpse into like the way that corporate culture maintains when it gets brought into a bigger culture, because like on the balance sheet, Bethesda games and whatever other games from other divisions all roll up into the same revenue, right? Ultimately, but
totally,
but still the people on the ground within these what used to be distinct companies like still can feel shortchanged or get territorial about the way decisions are being made about their stuff.
Sure.
Sound like you talk from experience.
Anyway, yeah, he's retiring. He flat out says he's retiring, and I think that's notable for two reasons. A, we're I didn't look up the date. I don't know how long we are since like the close of the Bethesda acquisition, but I do wonder.
Like that something.
I'm guessing like stock is vesting or payment schedules are completing. Like I wonder who else in that acquisition might be thinking about not working anymore.
Are you not so subtly saying are we seeing maybe the runway toward Todd Howard maybe leaving Bethesda at some point?
Like savvier people saw this happen and started asking that question. Let's say less savvy, more console fanboy type people were out there screaming about how he must have gotten fired because Starfield was a flop lol.
No.
Starfield a flop lol?
No, like, some of its review scores were a bit
middling.
I would... There's a mixed consensus, let's say.
But there's also not any real indication that game is like suffering sales wise.
It was the biggest selling game of September.
Yeah.
Like it's fine.
And it's not like Microsoft did not know for pretty much the entire duration that they owned this company what Starfield was going to be.
Yeah, like some people have, I think, found it a bit just me anecdotally looking at what's being said all over the place. Like I think some people have found it maybe a little underwhelming, but I shouldn't have even brought that up. It's just another example of the dumb fucking conspiracies
I know it's everywhere these days.
People come up with about video game industry these days.
2021? Is that the
is that when it closed? I cannot remember.
God, it feels older than that.
It does feel. That's why it sounds like it is finalized. This Verge article says finalized in 2021.
Wasn't it? I think it was announced in 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
It does feel so much older than that.
Yeah.
But my guess, my internal gut guess, and this is based on nothing except,
what the spirits are telling you.
Yeah, what the spirits are telling me is his payout stuff happened already, maybe not that long ago, but happened, and he just wanted to see. Somebody asked him to stay, or he wanted to see Starfield through.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could totally see him, especially considering how long they were working on that game, just wanting to see it through to conclusion.
100%. Someone who's very clearly personally invested in the company and the work and the games and the people, and of course, you're not going to bail midstream on their biggest release ever.
And again, there could be another side of that too, where if you stay through the completion, maybe there's some kind of points bonus or something for a shipped game like Starfield that you then see on. I mean, he's way up there, so he could have had hey, if you stay through the completion of Starfield, you will get X amount of whatever. I don't know that for sure, but I could also see it being he's been there so long. This Starfield is a big deal for Bethesda, regardless of. Flops law.
It's a Bethesda game studio game. It is therefore by default a big deal.
Yeah, and their last one as an independent company. They made most of it before they got bought. So who knows? I didn't verify the stuff, but I saw people when everybody was going oh man, is Todd Howard next? And some people I saw said that he's been pretty clear that he will. The thing I saw was he said oh, he'll do Elder Scrolls 6 and then Fallout 5. I don't know if that's wishful thinking and then be done. I have no idea.
It's these guys have been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
And also for those games being done and out the door at the very bare minimum probably represents another decade at that company.
Yes, easily.
So that is not going to be a short order thing.
Yeah, and of course we should be clear that it's not like Bethesda can't continue making these games without Todd Howard.
No, of course not.
He doesn't have some magic touch that can't be replicated necessarily.
No, he's just been the guy. He has been the face of those games and what kind of at the vanguard of what Bethesda does. And again, I think they will perfectly survive him leaving perfectly well, especially if, they've actually done any real talent development at that company. But I feel like it's one of those things where it's it's still just a big deal by virtue of how long he's been there and how long he has been that face.
Yes. But, it's just Hines retiring is just a good occasion to be all these giant acquisitions, key people are going to leave eventually.
Yep.
Totally. I was going to
quickly in Bobby's case.
I was going to mention also, what is he? He's probably in his 50s, right?
I don't know.
Pete Hines?
Probably still relatively young to be retired, at least here in the United States. I don't know. Internationally, but he might pop up somewhere else or go on a board.
His statement very much sounded like what I would say. Begin an exciting new chapter of my life, exploring interests and passions, donating my time where I can, and taking more time to enjoy life.
Yeah, it was probably a very intense time at Bethesda, and also with the Activision Blizzard stuff coming in, Bethesda is not the new kid in Microsoft, and I'm sure they will have a lot to have to go through and some growing pains and collaboration between teams and all that stuff that maybe he's I don't really want to go through this again.
That's right. Now that the 60 FPS mode for Redfall is out, a whole new chapter can begin.
That's right.
My work here is done.
Maybe he doesn't even want to spend. Maybe he doesn't want to spend 2 months with Bobby. Maybe he's I just, what? I'm just. When's he coming over? You guys are done? Okay, I'm out.
Trying to imagine a world where I tolerate 2 minutes with Bobby, and let me tell you, I can't imagine it.
You said he holds grudges. Maybe he's just nope. You guys close today? I'm out today.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Hines.
See ya.
Yeah. Wish him well.
Can't believe he ruined Starfield. Couldn't believe.
Oh, you mean Pete Hines' Starfield?
Dude, can't believe he blew it.
Fucking curse whatever algorithms has made a bunch of the shit float into my feed of people screaming at each other about Xbox and PlayStation. My God, man. There is a viciousness to it that was not there in our day at GameSpot with the System Wars forums and stuff. I mean, that stuff was pretty petty and tribal, but not in the way that it is hostile now. I don't feel like.
The hostility has definitely gone up.
Let's transition into legitimate hostility.
Yeah. Get ready for some hostility on my part here.
Yeah, Alex, you want to just go for it?
Sure. So we've talked about this, the current ongoing situation at Bandcamp as they are being sold to SongTrader by current and short-term owner Epic. One of the things that had not really shook out yet was exactly what was going to happen to the workforce there as part of this deal. It sounded like SongTrader was being extremely tight-lipped with the people on the ground there, and Epic was not being particularly clear either. All of this being complicated by the fact that there had been a vote to unionize among the staff there, which I'm gonna, without any actual information to back this up, going to purely speculate. I'm saying this out loud. I am speculating. Might have had something to do with Epic's hasty desire to get rid of this company. But now we know, and they are laying off half the staff at Bandcamp in the process of this transition.
I want to add here, I think it's one of these statements, I'm scrolling to look for it now, that none of the people involved in the union leadership came over as well.
Well, no. So okay, here's what it is. None of the people that were voted in to be the negotiating team for the union were brought over. And 40, I think something like 40 of these 60 some odd people that are being laid off were all part of the sort of the union drive.
Okay.
So,
and this is in the sale. This is in part of the sale. This
is Epic doing these layoffs as part of the getting things over to Song Trader part of the deal.
And then Epic also just had like massive layoffs.
Yes, that Epic is a separate thing.
Huge layoffs.
Like 900 something people.
I think, isn't this a situation where like people who are staying on or who are being kept on are basically like signing new employment agreements with Song Trader?
I believe so.
And
just fucking flashback after flashback today in the news.
And it sounds like the union is still trying to negotiate this for what that's worth. Talking to Epic, but
again, they have decimated a lot of the people that were voted in to be the union sort of negotiating leadership, and like every aspect of this signals a big old we're not doing that as part of this deal, which. I mean, look, at a certain point, enough of this stuff piles up, you can start talking to the labor board about like, hey, maybe they are actually fucking us over here in a way that is not legal. But I'm not well versed in that stuff enough to know exactly what their options are. Here's what I do know. This is fucked. Everything they are doing here, everything they did with Bandcamp and then proceeded to not do with Bandcamp before they shuttled it off, is some of the most capricious bullshit I have seen from one of these major corporate entities in recent memory. And I understand, I'm trying not to be too overblown here because, look, there's some very real fucked up shit going in the world right now. I have a lot of places and a lot of anger that I'm currently directing in a lot of different places. I'm specifically getting heated about this one because it is just a very personal thing for me. Like, I've said this before, there are not a lot of outlets left for independent musicians to do anything good on the internet anymore. Bandcamp was not just a marketplace. It was a place that actually harbored and, fostered a lot of independent creators. It was a place they could sell their music, they could sell their merch, but also they did stuff like Bandcamp Fridays, where, they would give the entirety of all their sales that day to the artist. Like, there was just a lot of aspects of that company that felt like unusual in the current corporate internet environment. And especially in the music industry, which is just a hollow shell of even the hollow shell it was when I was growing up. And for them to just come in here, muck around for a year, and then say, fuck it, we're shoveling off to Song Trader, this licensing company that does not give me good vibes in the slightest, is just horrendous bullshit. And fuck them for doing this.
Bandcamp always felt like a sort of principles over profit kind of operation to me.
Yes.
Like, of course, I mean, maybe they were very profitable and they just found a way to walk that line, but like it very much felt like they were trying to do the right thing before they were trying to make a bunch of money.
Yes.
Like
which makes the sale to Epic all the more confusing to me in the first place.
For my own experience, just super randomly, I went and searched my old email address for the word Bandcamp a year or two ago and forgot I had bought some albums from them in like 2010 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the download links in those original receipts still worked.
Yeah.
Completely forgotten I had even bought them, and I just went and downloaded them again. And I was like, man, it's fucking awesome that, like, I didn't have to sign into some accounts. I didn't have to like do anything. Like I can't believe they even left these downloads up, let alone made them that easy to still access.
It is genuinely one of the best organized and like just easy to use marketplaces I've ever encountered in on the modern internet. And I mean, again, look, they sold to Epic. I don't know what exactly leadership's impetus to do that was. I've heard on the back end that Bandcamp was was doing fine. Like, it was a profitable company at the scale that they were at around the time they decided to make the sale. I still don't know why they did it. I don't know if the union stuff had anything to do with that or what, but whatever the case, they sold, and now look where it's at. And it's just, look, we've seen example after example after example of companies coming in, playing around with something, and then deciding it's not interesting to them anymore, either dismantling it or selling it off, whatever. Like, this shit just keeps happening. But, I'm harping on this because there just are so few things like this left in a meaningful way, and especially in the music industry. And I feel bad for every person who worked hard to make that thing into the thing it was, only to just get pissed away by a bunch of corporate shuffling.
Yeah, there's a detail in this Kotaku story that one of the founders, who is still at Bandcamp, didn't even find out that Epic was selling them off until like the night before the deal was announced.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what Epic thought they had. I don't know what they wanted, and I remain confused by this. I don't think fucking they have any idea what they actually want at this point, except for more people to spend money in Fortnite. And it's like, I don't know how Bandcamp was going to get you to that goal, guys. I don't know what you thought you had, but just way to piss something good as far away as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah, they've never come out with any. Epic has not since come out with any kind of statement on what happened, right? Like,
no, fucking Tim Sweeney's still just on Twitter yelling about AI because that's the fucking only thing he cares about, apparently.
Well, this is just more of the same stuff that precipitated those larger layoffs. They just made a bunch of massive investments that they now can't sustain and are trying to.
They could sustain. While Fortnite may not be growing at the rate that it used to, it's not like Fortnite is not still making them money.
Yeah,
they have some runway if they want it.
He did say they're spending more than they're making. I mean, you can certainly question whether he's actually telling the truth or not, but that is their line.
What are they spending on? That's the question.
Well, I think they said that they overreached, right? I think that was his statement, was Epic grew too fast during the last 2 years compared to the market.
So is he taking a pay cut because of that, or what?
I look at my sympathies for
No,
Tim
I know.
Sweeney, right?
I'm not accusing either of you of being sympathetic to Tim Sweeney in this situation. No, but that's the real thing, is that like any explanation for this stuff just sounds like, okay, you fucked up, so what are you doing about it? Like, are you actually going to take a hit on this, or are you just going to make your workforce suffer?
I mean, my listening to, I don't really participate with Bandcamp that much, but I've seen a lot of people share the kind of fury and rage that you have, Alex, as well, for similar reasons. That to me just seems like, again, makes me question, like, why would you do this if you didn't have any kind of pivot plans for Bandcamp? Because I've seen that sentiment expressed also, like, this, you just killed this, like, you made this thing extinct, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
this platform.
Yeah.
And it's not dead yet, but I mean, I have a very strong feeling this thing is going to go the way of MySpace.
The whole acquisition just feels like a dalliance because, like, the pandemic hit and like digital revenue on everything was up because everybody was at home spending money on stuff online, and interest rates were zero, and just the whole thing, it was that whole, Epic is far from the only company that overextended in that period, and that's right. I mean, that's why the Facebooks and Microsofts and everybody were laying off everyone this year, is because they went on hiring sprees.
Right, you could borrow money for free, basically, because
corporate foresight never extends more than one quarter into the future.
No.
And then once it came time to pay the piper, they were like, "Oh shit, what do we do now? I guess just cut all these jobs." Like Bandcamp was just like the most like artist and customer friendly music storefront I was aware of. So it's very obvious.
For right now, it still is. Like, it has not gone out of business yet. Like, they have not shut that thing down. They have not changed that site. I'm just saying that right now I am clenched up and just waiting for that moment.
Yeah, the key thing, and the hits just keep coming because I've seen this personally as well, but this detail in this Kotaku story that I'll just read. The two companies agreed to a, quote, asset sale of Bandcamp rather than a, quote, stock sale, which essentially means that SongTrader bought the technology and platform of Bandcamp, not necessarily the whole company.
Yeah.
So That would certainly be consistent with cutting half the staff if they really just want the platform and not the greater business operations.
It's fucked, man. I mean, look, there's a lot fucked right now. A lot of things are fucked up. It's just that this one's hitting me in particular, industry-wise, because it's just such a dumb thing.
Yeah.
None of this needed to happen.
And by platform, I mean like technology that Bandcamp built that SongTrader might just take and integrate into what they already do rather than keeping it as any kind of distinctive entity.
Yeah.
So it could cease to exist at some point.
Again, we for Activision Blizzard, maybe this is a good thing, but this is some of that consolidation stuff. But when you're part of the bigger ship, and then the ship hits troubled waters, it starts jettisoning shit. I don't know the history of Bandcamp of whether they needed to be bought or whatever, but this is the stuff that scares me when you kind of become the blob of companies, right? And you start shaking off things.
And the thing that separates this, I think, from just the general industry consolidation that we have, expressed some exasperation and anxiety over, is that those are stories of companies within the larger games industry merging, reforming. Yeah. Bandcamp had nothing to do with any of this shit.
Yeah,
Bandcamp was not video games and had very little to do with video games other than the fact that composers were selling their albums on Bandcamp. That's it.
Yeah. Actually, that is a video game tie-in I hadn't really thought of, is that Bandcamp was an early place to get a bunch of game soundtracks before you could really easily get them many other places.
Yeah, but it was a very easy way for people that wrote music for indie games and stuff to just have that stuff available.
To put it in context, some of those old albums I was talking about downloading were soundtracks for Fez and Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how early in the indie craze that stuff was.
I mean, that's why I get so heated about this, because there was just no reason to pull this into the larger flux of video games and weirdness and just the money being thrown around, because Bandcamp had outside of hosting video game music you could buy, it had nothing to do with the video game industry. And for them to reach out and just pull that thing in and then punt it out again is just so crass.
Well, again, this isn't my area of expertise, but I would say from what I've read here, not punting it out, basically shitting it out. It's this. Look, we were
treating
all
it like garbage.
We were all on the kind of receiving end of a company that had nothing to do with video games when we got sold over to Red Ventures, and it didn't feel great. It didn't feel
it's no fun at all to feel like your destiny is 2 or 3 layers removed from the thing that is actually being bought,
or that you're a chip that you're going to be flipped around. And look, we got,
but not a good chip, not the chip they want.
I mean, I'll be extremely blunt. I started considering the idea of leaving the morning that acquisition was announced.
I mean, there were things that were promised and that were good, and we got attention in ways that we hadn't gotten before because we were also kind of on the shit end of a CBS as a giant company.
Yeah,
but it never felt like RV was necessarily going to make a play at games in a big way or they were going to give it until lunchtime, right? And if it didn't have a return by that point. So I don't know if this is the same with SongTrader. Maybe they're different. Maybe I'm just projecting here a lot of my personal grievances with these things.
Probably the biggest distinction there is that we were the smallest piece of a much larger package deal in that case, whereas Bandcamp was a single acquisition and then a single sale.
Yeah.
They were the only entity in the transaction, which kind of makes it actually even worse that they seem like they might just be stripping it for parts.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Sounds like it really sucks on all fronts there. But in other news, somebody bought a Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I guess I don't know.
And now on the brighter side,
yeah. Wow, Brad, that all sounds horrible. In other news, somebody bought a Wii U.
I just threw it in here because it's amusing. Matt Piscatella of Circana. When did I miss that NPD had become Circana?
I did not know that until
I've seen the Circana name for a year or two.
Yeah.
But until Kotaku wrote it in this story, Circana, formerly NPD.
Yes.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
Anyway,
Circana members.
Piscatella is a pretty prolific video game analyst on Twitter. who certainly has access to all the sales data working at that company. Apparently, one official reported sale of a new Wii U occurred in the US in September.
It's amazing. One
Wii U sold in September. I just want to know who the hell still has new Wii U's.
We have to find them. We have to know what happened here.
It's been 2 or 3 years, but the last time I looked into it, brand new Wii U's were actually like pretty valuable because they didn't make that many of them in the first place.
Yeah.
The story says one was sold back in May 2022. That was the last reported sale. So it's been a while with something aging in the physical locker.
It's got to be one of two things. One, it is literally we found a box somewhere in the back and we just decided to throw it on a shelf and see what happened. Or two, it's been sitting on that shelf in some independent video game store for like years and just finally someone got a hair up their ass to buy it.
Like that makes me wonder. And like, granted, I'd have a fascination with like the boring nuts and bolts things of how stuff works. But like, what is the reporting structure for sales like this? Like, if it was at some like little single location mom and pop video game store, like, does everybody report sales into this?
But
like,
that's the thing is it's barcoded. So like when that sale goes through, it's presumably the manufacturer gets notification that, hey, this has been sold.
Yeah, I just mean what is the intermediary that is actually carrying that data from point of sale to like whatever central database? Like there's got to be some
right, like what takes it beyond the local store's system.
Some system or some system of systems that is all tied into one central thing.
It's a system of systems. I could see like a Target or something somewhere having
Maybe.
one on a shelf.
Maybe they were closing a Target somewhere and they just found one in the back.
Target is where I bought my Wii U for whatever it's worth.
There you go.
A couple of years after it came out.
Maybe somebody just scanned a box. I mean, presumably it's a legitimate sale. Let's assume somebody's not just, stealing stuff out of a Target and scanning Wii U's when they really walked out with like a giant flat screen TV or something. I have no idea. Funny story, though. Hope you enjoy your Wii U. Hope you can get some games for it, too.
It's kind of underrated.
Yeah, you're going to have to buy some physical ones.
Kind of an underrated system.
I think it's rated appropriately.
Well, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the proper rating on it. It's a stopgap system, really. Like, it was somewhere between the Wii and the Switch,
A small number of great games.
Yeah. Look, Nintendo...
Super Mario 3D World. Fantastic.
Nintendo puts out great software, and that occasionally they put out pretty okay hardware. Just gotta.
I mean, okay, fine. The gimmick was a misfire. Let's be real. Although, I mean, to the extent that it kind of proved out the Switch concept a little bit, I'm sure it was useful in that respect. It's kind of actually a weird bridge between the 3DS because it was two distinct screens, but also like a big fat tablet. So it was some part 3DS, part Switch.
We were right in the middle of our second screen experience, right? Like what's Microsoft's something glass?
Smart glass.
Smart glass. Look, everybody wanted another screen while you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo decided to make a whole concept around it.
I distinctly remember coming into the office on a Sunday to do a launch stream.
For the Wii U?
Yes. I think Ryan and Jeff stopped and bought every launch game at the Best Buy or something like that, and we just sat there and went through a giant stack of games. It felt like Sausalito again.
Man, when did the Wii U come out?
2012.
Jeez. Ah, what is time? That's like over 10 years ago. That is the news. Yeah, shake it out.
Yeah.
Shake it out. Check it out. That's the news. Microsoft, Epic Games, Nintendo, big players, money flowing all ins and outs and all around. I'm mostly, out of that stuff we talked about, very curious to see, actually, now that is it going to happen or not going to happen, what happens in a couple of years with Microsoft and Activision. And you think just kind of circling back one more time here, Alex and Brad, do you think we're done with Microsoft scooping up high-profile companies for a bit?
For a while.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. You think because of this or just given the overall market?
Mostly because of this.
Mostly because of this,
I think the sheer spend that it required to buy this is probably all the runway they've got for a while. You think? Because, they just came off of Bethesda, $7.5 billion is not a small acquisition by any means, let alone 10 times bigger. So, and just, look at the range of IPs they brought in. Like, it's
quite a bit.
Kind of a lot. So if they very much need to make something happen with this massive stable they have now bought.
I wonder if Sony's on the market. Or not
I
on
saw,
the market, hunting
I
around.
saw a headline going around. I didn't pull it in here because it was just kind of analyst speculation, but some people in that space absolutely are thinking like Sony might go for something else now that this is closed.
I mean, they still got Bungie incubating in there, right? So
yeah.
That's going to do it for the news. We have an email address. It is podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com. This episode went longer than I thought it was going to go. Brad,
Yep.
we want to do an email?
One email.
Let's do it.
Max from Albany, entitled Skincare, the Just Tell Me What to Do routine.
I mentioned this on the Ramblecast, but I knew the skincare industry was a huge industry. I've seen it, but I was not unprepared for just how much love and support and suggestions
everyone wants to help you.
There are in the skin. I love it all. Let me just say a quick update so people know. I have a couple of products I'm testing out, a couple of routines. But Brad, what is this just get it done routine here?
A lot of opinions on skincare. I'm a resident doctor, so standard, quote, not official medical advice, just education, unquote, disclaimer.
Okay.
But I have done a fair amount of time in dermatology. Here are a few golden rules.
Okay.
The less fragrant, the better.
Okay, sounds good.
Sticking to the basics will get you 80% of the way there.
I love it.
Let's see. Wear sunscreen every day, all the time.
I should get better.
What if I never leave the house?
Yeah, that's an option. That is an option. The routine, face wash once a day, morning or night, and pat dry in all caps.
Yeah, pat dry.
Pat dry? Why
Pat
don't you want to
dry.
rub? Is it rubbing, like smearing stuff around or something?
Yeah, it's just generally better.
I would ask what exactly constitutes face wash. Is that like a cleanser on your fingertips? Is that like an exfoliating?
I mean, there are like facial soaps and things like that.
No, I
facial
know.
cleansers.
But what I mean is, like, are you
Like
putting that
massaging
on
in?
like an exfoliating thing? Like a scrub?
I have a new
or
face
like
wash. I'm trying it out.
Some of them
like
exfoliate, some don't. Some are literally just like oil scrubs or things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know some of them have like stuff in them that exfoliate. I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
do you put it on a thing and
That's right.
scrub, or do you? Because I've heard both. Also, just use your fingertips.
Yeah, there's some you can totally use your fingers with.
Let's see. Face wash once a day. Face moisturize twice a day.
Okay.
Definitely after you shave or use face wash.
Okay.
Body moisturizer after you shower. This is the hard one.
Do that.
This is the hard one. Sunscreen all the time.
That is good. It is good to wear sunscreen wherever you go.
I think I am dooming my future self because I burn faster than anyone you have ever met in your life. But fuck, man, I hate the feel of sunscreen and I hate the hassle of putting it on.
I think there are worlds of sunscreen that. Are you a mineral oil sunscreen person or is it chemical? Sorry, not mineral oil, mineral based. The white sunscreen, like the
like the classic.
Yeah,
that's usually what I would use. We've also got sprays.
You don't like the tacky kind of. It's because I've had some sunscreens that were more chemical based that like hardly even felt like they were on after a second. I think there's a broader world of sunscreen out there that.
Yes, there's more than just the kind you wear at the beach.
Okay,
yeah.
maybe I should look into that.
Also, the moisturizer I bought has sunscreen in it, which
that sounds all right.
Yeah, that sounds all right. One of them I tried, and again, I think this is just a journey. Kind of initially made my skin feel tight. The moisturizer, and I wonder, like, is that normal?
I don't think that's abnormal.
Okay, I don't know.
I've like the rare times long ago that I used stuff with like salicylic acid in it that would get that.
Okay,
I don't know
like
if that's the kind of thing you're talking about.
Maybe it's like a little tight and a little red, but then like mellowed out. Like,
yeah,
I have no idea. Like, is that like, oh, stop using this one? That's bad, or
no?
Or
I don't think
like,
that's necessarily what that means.
Okay. Gosh, there's a lot of stuff out there.
A few more points here.
Okay.
I generally face wash in the shower and do my moisturizer when I brush my teeth. Body moisturizer is post shower. Sunscreen in the morning and every time I leave my house.
Man, that's diligence. Yeah. That's good.
The next level.
Tretinoin
/retinol and vitamin C.
Oh, now we're into the serums. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good evidence for both, but a little more labor intensive. Everything else probably not worth the money or effort unless it's gifted to you.
Okay. So in my journey through this, I've seen some people have recommended the different serums and a couple of other things, toners, the spray on toners and stuff. I'm not quite there yet. I think I'm still building my foundation here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One last bit.
Yes.
In terms of brands, obviously not sponsored by any of these, but CeraVe, Neutrogena, Cetaphil, Eucerin, Aveeno, and Vanicream are generally solid. Vanicream is our product is cheaper, but just as good because we don't spend money on marketing brand.
None of those brands are the ones that I am currently trying out.
Okay.
Well, then I'm sorry to tell you that your face is going to fall off.
Yeah, you're fucked.
You might as well just rub dog shit on your face. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're even doing.
Just cut your damn face off at this point.
Just tell me what Leatherface uses, because that's what I'm looking for. That's
a different face.
That's just somebody else's face.
Yeah. And when that one gets used, he then goes on and finds another face.
A well moisturized face.
Yeah,
They start out
not
beautiful.
as well moisturized as it should be.
Thanks for the
it's
email.
not wrong. This Vanicream stuff's pretty cheap.
This stuff can be expensive, and again, I think I should buy smaller quantities or find the smallest one I can, because I feel like I tested it out and I'm like, I don't like this one. Now I'm stuck with this, a couple of ounces of this stuff. What do you do with it? We'll moisturize the dog. Thanks everybody. Man, skincare. It's real. It's out there.
It's a nightmare.
What an industry. What an industry. I bet
it's all good.
I bet there's nothing
Everything
wrong
over
with
there
it.
is going great.
Yeah, it's fine over there. It's better than video games. That is a podcast at Nextlander.com. You can send in your emails. Send them in. We'll rate them. We'll get them going there. Over on the Watchcast side of things, excuse me, as I clear my throat and make way for Suspiria. Up now over on the Watchcast. What a movie.
Yeah.
Colorful. I was going to say an assault on the senses, but assault maybe has a negative connotation to it.
Also, especially with the movie we're doing next week, I feel like comparatively not so much. It's more of an assault on the ears thanks to the folks at Goblin.
Yes, and then we have recorded the episode for House or Houseu, which if you're like me and know nothing about it, you're better off just jumping right in.
You know more now.
I certainly do. I will say also, if you were worried, maybe like I was, like, oh, this is good. Is this a real terrifying one? I would say, don't worry so much about that.
Don't worry your pretty little head. You'll be fine.
Don't worry about that. If you're like, it's not in for the blood and gore and guts, and don't worry so much about that.
You'll be okay.
Houseu, what a movie, what a film.
Yeah, cinema.
That's over on the Watchcast. We'll have more about where we're going with the Watchcast after our next installment, which is Train to Busan, coming up in a couple of weeks here, as we kind of figure out where we want to go with it. Alex, you had some great ideas. I really loved what you were talking about off camera. But B, we're kind of also looking to see what happens in the state of the movie industry. So we are kind of following those two things, and currently it doesn't seem like a lot is happening over there. So
not at the moment.
We will see, but you can find that over at patreon.com/Nextlander. There is also a new episode of Never Been a Better Podcast, a fantastic episode, if I do say so myself. Thanks to Jeff Backlar, Austin Walker for joining us there. You can find that over at patreon.com/Nextlander, along with a bunch of other stuff. Got the Ramblecast. We got the Patrons' Choice voting happening over there. You've got the Q&A, which I think we're doing this week. We're doing this week on Thursday.
Yes.
You got Planorama happening over there. A lot of stuff. Bunch of different tiers. Find a tier that fits your lifestyle. But there is one tier that gets their name read on this year's show. And I'm going to read those names for you right now. Starting with Ryan Waterman, RRE, The Heebies, Mostly GBs at Night, Mostly, John Richardson, Vornak, Infelicitous Rips, Kelly F., Ryan Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Sean Miller, Brad's Midsize Haunted Hoodoo Voodoo, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, The Haunting of Deidre's House, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, John McInnes, $, Peter Reardon, Thomas Lynn, Jad Rita, Statics, Andrew Jackson, Mega Brains, Razgriz 2 Can Never Look at Lemons the Same. That's a Never Been a Better Podcast reference. Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It's Me JP, Matt Clements Jr., Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese. Those are our mysterious benefactors for this week, and a very special thank you to all of them and to all of you out there who have gone and supported at any tier over on the Patreon, watched our stuff over on Twitch, watch our stuff on YouTube, listen, spread the good word, who have supported and stayed with us for these many centuries while we have covered the video game industry from the time of its inception, from blips and bloops to beeps and bites. This is... I was like falling into some Walter Cronkite.
There's some really incredible trailing off happening there.
This is Walter Cronkite signing off. For
good
video
night
games.
And good luck.
May God have mercy on our souls.
Yeah.
That's gonna do it for this week's show. Thanks everybody. And in case you missed it, we talked about Spider-Man 2.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah. We'll have some other games to talk about next week. Though I suspect some more Spider-Man 2 next week. If you're up for this Spider-Man 2 and you're playing over on the PS5, I hope you enjoy it as well. It seems like a pretty fun game. I'm enjoying my time there. On Monday, we had our Remnant 2 stream, so you can go check that out. We're making fantastic progress, just chewing through it. Thanks mostly to Brad's summoning class. I still have to go get that class. I mean, come on. What kind of combo? Look, if we're all summoning...
Hey, I got a dog.
You do.
That dog does work.
That dog does do work. We're going to have some Spider-Man streaming going on Thursday, and then we didn't mention it. Now's a good time to mention it. There's a new freaking Super Mario Brothers game coming out on Friday. Yeah, like how weird is it that like that's the Friday kind of
just kind of sliding in thing. There? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll talk about that on next week's show as well. Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
By the way, there's a new Super Mario Brothers coming out.
By the way, a game in the official Super Mario Brothers catalog with Super Mario Brothers right on the title. Coming out on Friday.
Some reviews hit today, pretty positive.
Yeah,
I bet. I'm excited to get it. That game looks fun and bonkers, like the way they've been doing those Mario Brothers games recently. So you can check that out on Friday. We'll be streaming probably from the near beginning of that, if not the beginning, because we'll be playing it on Friday. And we'll do the same around Spider-Man 2 as well. We'll start fairly early on to avoid many story spoilers for you. So come join us there. Thanks, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad Shoemaker.
Good God, man. GameSpot called it the rightful successor to Super Mario World.
Okay, come on.
That's a little, hey, don't say things they can't take back. That's intense.
Right.
Okay. Well,
expectations have raised somewhat.
We'll see you on Friday, I guess, also, and Thursday. Come join us on Thursday. See you, everybody. Bye.